Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants whom you have been pleased to call the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as promote your honor and glory, and advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their church. Amen.
Item number 2 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, I welcome you to this afternoon sitting. And now that the committees have been constituted, I wanted to remind the chair and members of the Committee of Physical Infrastructure that there's something urgent we asked them to do relating to the SGS inspection. And we had given them 1 month, so if they could expeditiously handle it so that we can get a report and get a way forward. We are of course expecting to have the motion to pay tribute to our colleague. We are waiting for the Prime Minister to move the motion. So I will ask Honorable Kajinda, he had something to say yesterday. Honorable Kajinda, then Honorable Dulu had a problem with a road in Ajumani, and Honorable Mwijuke.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a statement on government undertakings from the leader of opposition. Right Honorable Speaker, on several occasions, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Government Chief Whip, and respective ministers have stood on the floor of this Parliament and pronounced themselves on a number of concerns and questions raised by the members. I note with concern, however, that the bigger part of these commitments and pronouncements are never responded to, despite the deadlines either given by the House and others sometimes proposed by the government side itself. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to remind this Parliament of the following. 1. A directive to the Minister of Health present a statement to the House on the status of the proposed National Health Insurance Scheme made on 9th February 2017. 2. A commitment by the Minister of Education and Sports to report to the House on the cancellation of all one-year certificate courses in educational institutions made on 28th June 2017. 3. A commitment from the Minister of Education and Sports to present a statement on the status of public universities for Busoga, Rwenzori, and Bunyoro, which was made on 28th June 2017. 4. A commitment from the Minister of Internal Affairs to present a statement on the registration of school-going children made on 29th June 2017. It should be noted that the deadlines given for the above commitments have since passed without response. Right Honorable Speaker, I would appreciate the leader of government business and government chief whip to take more seriously commitments made to this House rather than treating them as a ritual at every Parliament sitting. I thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Indeed, the matters you raise are really important. For instance, the children who are studying the certificate, we don't know whether they will graduate. We don't know whether the institution should now send them away. So it's really important that we hear from the government about it. And yesterday I talked about the failure to start registration of pupils in Jinja district as by Monday. That had not yet happened. So again, we direct the Prime Minister to ensure that those questions are answered tomorrow, because some of them are long overdue, like the one of insurance is very, very much overdue. So we want answers tomorrow. Now, Honorable, the Hansard is there.
Procedure?
The Hansard is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, even the usual suspect here is not there. The government chief whip and the, the answer, what's up? Because this house is under your guide leadership is very serious. But you see the front bench, I can see Honorable Fellow Secretary, I don't know when he became a minister, and is he masquerading now? So I think really, Madam Speaker, we need a front bench to be constituted. What's happening to our usual friend of ours, Honorable Minister Nankabirwa?
Issues on the way. No, honourable members, there was, where is Honourable Dulu? Honourable Dulu had an issue he wanted to raise. Yes, Honourable Liu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know the front bench is not here, but this is a matter of concern that is derailing government programs. Madam Speaker, many government departments, take an example, institutions and other parastatals, lack boards. Ministers are taking so long to appoint boards, and this is derailing most of the programs in terms of funding and also in terms of recruitment. A case in example is the Hotel Institute in Jinja of Tourism and Training Institute. Till today, it has no board. Despite your continuous calls, they keep claiming it is in the cabinet, they keep claiming we are going to bring the names, but the board is not inaugurated. We cannot construct the hotel. We cannot construct the institution. We cannot recruit principals and other officers. And it is not only happening in that place. Even the same was happening to UTB until after 6 months. WUA, it was the same thing until after 8 months. And now even generation, same thing. So I think the onus is upon us as Parliament, Madam Speaker, to put pressure on the front bench. And we design and strategically state it. No institution should stay for more than 90 days without a board. Because Uganda has 40 million Ugandans. How can you fail to appoint 6 or 7?
No, complete your statement, half a minute.
As Parliament, we need to act because all the money we appropriate here. That's why you see some of the organizations return funds. So we should have strict measures that no government organization or institution should stay for more than 90 days without a board. It is very important that we work on that, Madam Speaker and colleagues.
Honourable members, I don't know whether we could line up all those that don't have leadership, because this hotel training institute has not had for 7 years. 7 years without a board. Yes. Maybe we should ask the clerk to do some research quickly and give us a list of those that have no governance bodies. We table them here and then give an ultimatum to the Prime Minister and the ministers concerned, because it seems they have no interest in what is going on. Honorable Anya, where is Dulu? Honorable Dulu is not here? Yes, Honorable Anya. Mujuke has come. Okay. You had something you wanted to raise. Okay, Anya and then Mujuke.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, we debated in this House about the inspection of vehicles, which the colleague brought on the floor. And Madam Speaker, you did direct the Minister concerned that, one, the adverts which were running should be stopped. And we had agreed that an investigation is going to take place. Until that time, the registration calling should stop. But I would like to bring to your attention, Madam Speaker, that on NTV, the adverts are still running. I was coming from Entebbe one time, and I saw vehicles are still being lined up, even at on Bombo Road, Kawanda. The vehicles are still lining up, Madam Speaker. I had my people from, one person from Guru, who doesn't know that the deadline was stopped. And so many people are still ignorant. They are rushing. Others are being duped by the police, by the officers there, trying to catch up with the unknown deadline, which this House has actually stopped. I would like, Madam Speaker, to request that the Minister concerned come and respond to this, why he did not really comply with your directive. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Mujuke.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, sometime last week we got information that prosecutors had asked government to intervene in their pay because they get low pay compared to other civil servants. And that they had given an ultimatum that if that is not looked into, they would be considering a strike. Consequently, Madam Speaker, their issues were not looked into and they have commenced a strike. The strike for state attorneys, Right Honorable Speaker, and members has paralyzed the judicial system and courts. And people who have been on remand for long cannot get bail. People who are sick, people who need justice, and this of course increases the backlog that we have always been talking about. Right Honorable Speaker, even tomorrow we are supposed to go to Jinja, where our very own Right Honorable Kahonda is supposed to appear for bail in court. And this is another challenge that we may face, although we are still going tomorrow to court. So I'd like really the government to tell us how far they are handling the issues of state attorneys, because there's no we can talk of government continuing normally when courts are not working. I want to thank you, Madam Speaker.
No, Azza? Azza.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I am called Alerotom Azza, MP Westmoreland County, and I'm standing in for Dulu. You are looking for him. Actually, we share the same route from Gulu via Atiek to Moyo, and then Afoji, and then from there to Yumbe. Madam Speaker, our roads are now spoiled, if I may say so. They are so corrugated because of the heavy traffic flow on the roads. It has become corrugated. The heavy traffic flow carrying the Sudanese refugees from Kajokeji, Sudanese refugees from Afoji, and the refugees coming from Nimule has affected our roads. This is because of the heavy trailers that carry foodstuffs to the refugee centers, and also the water tanks that normally carry water for these refugees. And right now as I talk, Madam Speaker, even the buses that ply this route cannot go smoothly, simply because there's heavy rain, and the heavy rain has made the roads become impassable, slippery, up to the extent that even ambulance that's supposed to carry patients to the hospitals and health centers cannot really move smoothly. Now, added on that is the fact that most of the bridges and the culverts have also broken down. Most of the culverts are broken down, and because of this heavy traffic flow. A case in point is Amua Bridge between Palorinya, that is in Obongi County, and Moyo district. It really needs serious attention. If not, really in the nearest future, vehicles may not be able to move along this route. I thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay, honourable members, on that one, just before the refugee summit, I had discussed with the Prime Minister that they should make demands to the United Nations to increase corporate social responsibility to Uganda, especially on our roads, because the pressure on our local governments is so high, they cannot afford to do the repairs out of the damage done by those heavy trucks. I don't know whether they've done it, but that's what I discussed with the Prime Minister, that we wanted that to be done. Kunhira, by the way, congratulations. I heard on the radio. And then Abbott.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on the matter of concern. Last year we raised an issue of safety at workplaces, and the report was made and has been on the order paper for over 6 months now. Madam Speaker, as we talk, accidents have continued. Recently, a young boy who was working as a casual was crushed in Kinyara sugar factory, and he was a minor who was not supposed to be exposed to work on the machines, and he was not skilled to perform those duties. He ended up dying. Also, early this year, a businessman forced one of his workers to consume acid, and eventually, after he died. My concern, Madam Speaker, is to keep this matter of national importance on the order paper for over 6 months. I don't know if we don't have serious concern and responsibility to ensure the workers of this country are safe. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The matter will be put on the order paper for tomorrow. Put it on the order paper for tomorrow. Now, Honorable Bill was talking about the road from Adjumani to Shinyanya, the place Adjumani to Shinyanya, a road which has been washed away by rain. Yes. It's the road going to the ferry. So, about you want to say something quickly?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to bring the attention of this House, Madam Speaker, a matter that is a threat to the people of the islands. Madam Speaker, from 1996 to this year of this month, 131 people in the islands have been eaten by the crocodiles. Madam Speaker, I'm saying that 131 people have been eaten by the crocodiles in the waters.
A moment, procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, members are raising very pertinent issues here in this House. You have given directives. It is now that we are just seeing a member of the cabinet dashing in. And you know, today we are supposed to be having the Prime Minister's question time. Is it procedurally correct, Right Honorable Speaker, for us to continue airing out our issues when the implementing body is not inside?
Honourable members, Parliament has a very efficient system. After the matters are raised, the clerk writes to the Prime Minister and all the ministers about the issues that need to be answered. So nothing's really lost.
So,
Okay.
Madam Speaker,
Yes, Abbott, yes.
back to my point, Madam Speaker, I was raising a point that from the year 1998 to this year, 131 people have been eaten by crocodiles in the islands. Last week, Madam Speaker, one of them was a pupil of P6 who had gone to fetch the waters. Madam Speaker, the operations in the waters are good and have accepted. The islands have no ferry. The islanders are using small boats to go and fetch the waters to protect the school children. All these boats have been destroyed. We don't have water sources. So the peoples are forced to go and fetch the waters. Every day they are dying of crocodiles. I would want the government of Uganda to look critically on this issue of the crocodiles and the hippos in the waters. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. I think we shall ask, unfortunately the Prime Minister was here, he has heard. The crocodiles are finishing the people in the islands. They don't yet have a ferry. It's a very, very serious issue. Now, honourable members, we were raising those issues while waiting for the Prime Minister to come so that we can do the first item on our agenda, which was to pay tribute to our colleague. And present in the House, Mr. Abdurrahman Toto, former spouse of Honourable Hairat, Mr. Hamza Swaleh, Hajat Sauda Wenene, the mother of Hairat, Babiri Asha, the sister, Lilian Waboda, the sister, Baby Amal, other family members, and in the gallery, very many constituents from Uganda. They have come to be present at the payment of this tribute. So, I don't know if the Prime Minister has had a breather. Are you ready now, or we can? Okay. I now invite the Prime Minister to move the motion.
Motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to Honorable Grace Hailat Kauda, former woman representative, Uganda District, for her dedicated service to the nation.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable colleagues, I beg to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda, former woman representative for Uganda District, for her dedicated service to the nation. And Right Honourable Speaker, I'm moving this motion under Rule 47 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honourable Speaker, whereas the Parliament of Uganda notes with deep sorrow the untimely death of Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda, which occurred on 8th of July 2017 at Mulago National Referral Hospital after succumbing to pregnancy-related complications, aware that Honourable Kauda has been the District Woman Member of Parliament representing the people of Uganda District in this August House, recognizing that Honourable Kauda served on the Parliamentary Committee on Rules, Discipline and Privileges and the Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development, appreciating that Honourable Kauda Grace has been a diligent legislator who has served Uganda with dedication and patriotism. Now, therefore, this Parliament resolves as follows. 1, that it collectively conveys its deep sympathies to her family, relatives, friends, constituents, and the people of Uganda upon the demise of Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda. That it takes cognizance of the services rendered and contribution made by Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda to this country. That this Parliament collectively prays to the Almighty God to sustain the bereaved and grant our departed colleague eternal peace. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move.
Seconded? Seconded by several members of the House. Justification? May now justify.
Right Honourable Speaker, once again thank you so much for allowing me to move a justification for this resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda, woman representative for Uganda district in this August House. Right Honourable Speaker, colleagues, the death of a member of Parliament, and any Ugandan for that matter, is always painful, but is even more so, and indeed more saddening, when it is of a young legislator like Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda. We are all deeply saddened because Honourable Kauda still had a lot more to offer to her people in Iganga, to Busoga region, and to Uganda at large. Honourable Kauda was set to celebrate her 31st birthday on 14th of October, just in about 3 months' time. So, we can really see how young and yet how promising she was. But even more saddening is that Honorable Kauda died in a pregnancy-related complication. This further brings to the forefront the need for collective efforts to ensure that we effectively deal with the causes of maternal death in the country. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, significant gains have been made in improving the maternal health situation in the country, but a lot more needs to be done at all levels. In particular, it is critical that we boost our antenatal and postnatal services in order to prevent this human wastage. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, she was born in 1986 to the late Magumba Kasliba and Hajat Sauda Wenene in Magog village, Nawaningi sub-county in Iganga municipality. Honorable Kauda attended Namalemba Primary School and completed in 1998. She then went to Bukoyo Secondary School and Iganga Progressive School for her O-level and A-level respectively, completing her A-level in 2004. In 2007, she joined Uganda Christian University for a diploma in project planning and management. Later, she did a degree of business administration from Makerere University Business School, graduating in 2013. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, Honourable Kauda has been actively involved in political and developmental work in Iganga. She, for instance, represented her sub-county as a youth councillor at the district level before being elected as a woman member of parliament for Iganga district in February 2016. She has also been active in the development of Busoga Kingdom. We thank the family for nurturing a diligent daughter. We grieve with the widower, Mr. Amar Al-Bawazir, the family, friends, honorable colleagues of this august house, the Busoga Kingdom, and the nation at large. May the Almighty God rest her soul in eternal peace.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Prime Minister. May I now invite the Leader of Opposition to make a contribution.
Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, I sadly raise to second a motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to Honourable Grace Hailat Kauda, former woman representative of Iganga District. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, it's with great pain that I raise here to support this resolution. Right Honorable Speaker, as a mother, I feel that pain. That in Uganda, giving life is still an issue that comes with uncertainty. You are laboring as a woman to bring forth life, but in the process, you lose your life. My condolences to you, Right Honorable Speaker, and to the colleagues. Condolences to our sister's family, the young family, the husband, the entire population of Iganga, and all the Ugandans. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, we have sung our voices hoarse to the effect that no person should lose a life in the process of bringing forth life. The story of the state of our health facilities, the remuneration of our health workers, and of course I will not forget to say that for government to just leave the health subsector to the private sector is something that we should consider seriously as a country. Right Honorable Speaker, at the age of 30, Honorable Grace Kauda was just beginning to live. The expression of purpose and commitment to contribute to the growth and social transformation of this country was visible always in her demeanor, her character, her zeal, and her choices to step into the not so still waters of elective politics at her tender age is a true testimony of how prepared she was to give all her life and energy to serving this great country called Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, it's unfortunate that this young legislator has not lived to see the dreams of a Uganda she dreamt of coming true. I also do not stop to ask myself whether the continuous tributes we pay as we send off our loved ones, young and old, the legislators, and calling upon government to improve the health subsector, whether really they do fall on real ears. Because I get hurt that even the budget of the health subsector of the country has reduced. Right Honorable Speaker, even the private clinics that we go to, I don't know whether government has taken a passionate effort to see the quality of services that the private hospitals are giving, to see whether the doctors therein are really qualified, because many of the health services that are in this country that have subjected our lives to leave a lot to be desired. Many stories have been told of this hospital called the Case Clinic. And we would want, Right Honorable Speaker, that government takes interest in these health providers. It is true that even our own managed government hospitals also need a lot to be desired. But I would like to call upon all of us here present and all the Ugandans that life should be valued. We should take our own lives seriously. It doesn't amuse anyone to learn that a Ugandan can spend even close to 30 years without even having a health check. But even if the member checked, will the person be able to get the medications required for any ailments that may be discovered? Right Honorable Speaker, I call upon our government to ensure that the health scheme for all Ugandans is provided, so that whichever Ugandan finds themselves in a situation that needs attention, they will not die in unknown circumstances. I remember there is a lady from Kasese who died in the Mulago Hospital, the Kawembe section, where this colleague of ours equally died. The lady reached there on the 20th of June. She was told the baby had died in the womb, but that before she gives the money, she cannot be attended to. She arrived on the 20th, was found having that problem on the 21st. The lady was worked upon by 8 p.m. and that is when she breathed her last. I would say that even when we are looking for ways of getting money from patients, we should consider life first. Maybe if in this hospital, the attendants or the doctors in the hospital would have considered saving life first, this lady wouldn't have died in the process. This was in a government hospital. But also the care in our own hospitals of government is equally lacking. So, Right Honorable Speaker, as we mourn the passing on of our colleague, we should also be mindful of putting our health services right. Darkness continues to hover over this parliament, as we say bye to our colleague. Her candle has extinguished. We no longer can plan with her. We no longer can sit to consult each other on how forward we should take our country. But we do believe that wherever she is, she will still pray for mother country, Uganda. May Grace's body rest in eternal peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, as I invite Honourable Valieku to come, I want to, you gentlemen welcoming a team from Rakai District, Kivale Community Vocational Training Center. Where are they? Can you stand up? From they're on this side. Represented by Honourable Kasirabo and Honourable Kinyamatama. You're welcome. We also have from Mbale, Elgon FM Agents Forum. Where are you? Oh, they're here in big numbers. Presented by Honourable Nandara and Honourable Nambozo. You're welcome. Now, Honourable Minister of Health, before you came, the issue of the health insurance was raised. It was raised in February 2017. We wanted to know when it will start. It has not yet been answered. It has been raised again today. So I hope you'll prepare some answers for us. Even if it's not today, we want answers. When will the health insurance scheme come? Honourable Valieku, then I'll get to Ajay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the motion moved by the Prime Minister that Parliament resolves to pay tribute to our late colleague, Honourable Grace Kawuda Highlight. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Busoga Caucus and on behalf of the other members of Parliament, we have lost a woman who really cared for others in the society. She always had a lot of interest in the girl child education, always went to meet different schools so that the girl had sanitary pads, and in fact, always agitated for the rights for the girl child education. It is also important that government continues to support the interests that our colleague had in providing sanitary pads to all the girls in the schools of Uganda. Madam Speaker, we have always agitated for an affirmative action for Busoga for the last couple of years, and Highlight joined us in this agitation, and government had finally accepted and given Busoga an affirmative action program. Though in this financial year we got 0 shillings, but we have a vote under the Prime Minister's office. It was her wish that this affirmative action supports poverty eradication in Busoga, and we know, Mr. Prime Minister, that in the next financial year, the first money we shall get on this program, we shall support the interests of the people of Iganga, which she represented. Madam Speaker and other members, Highlight always had an empathic smile on her face. She was a real mother and a very good wife. Madam Speaker, the family of the late Highlight, with her extended family, are very grateful to the Office of the President, the Office of the Speaker, and the Office of the Parliamentary Commission, and all the other members of Parliament who stood with them during the hard time. Madam Speaker, as a country, many people have talked about the health facilities, but also, us as members also, we should ensure that what government accords to us as members, we put it right use. Because it is very important that everybody gets health insurance from a very reputable organization. There is no reason why a member of parliament should have this kind of facility and not utilize it. We should not take life for granted. We should be very, very sensitive about our lives because we have this privilege. Most people don't have it. And it also does not augur so well when our families rush us to the nearest health centers. Sometimes you cannot decide what God has decided, but let us also play our role. It is very important because when we were at the funeral, the sister narrated and clearly said that she did everything possible. And she actually thanked the government and the doctors, and she said they did a very wonderful job. But maybe that was the time. Madam Speaker, on behalf of Busoga members of Parliament and other members, we shall dearly miss Honorable Kauda, but we shall always have her in our memories. And we shall always ensure that Parliament and the members of Busoga Caucus continue standing with the family. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the people of Busoga, may her soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Honorable Barayanga. Honorable members, just to emphasize on the issue of the insurance, if you have a proper insurance facility, they can either come and treat you at your home or evacuate you to a hospital. So it's really, really important, Honorable members. Honorable Barayanga.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I beg to second the motion to pay tribute to the late Honorable Grace Hailat Kauda, woman member of Parliament, former woman member of Parliament, Uganda District. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, we are yet at it again, paying tribute to another fellow colleague, a member of Parliament, in this very 10th Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Grace Hailat died at such a young age that we can never know what her prime years were going to be, what she would be. She lived a life and was moving very, very fast to greater heights. And it's sad that the speed she was moving on is the same speed she has left us at. Right Honorable Speaker, we may talk a lot about the death of our dear sister, but we also need to bring out and say something about our health system. A health system that we do not believe in. You find a minister of health, a commissioner of health, a member of parliament does not believe in the health sector of his or her country. And this really brings us back. Yes, very true, the government has tried and made some new facilities. It has put up some new facilities. It has also renovated the old facilities. However, the motivation of workers is still very, very low. Recently, there was media coverage of workers who turned up to be recruited for jobs in the Arab countries. and they were in thousands. I don't know what we will do if all the thousands got that opportunity and all left. What will be left with here? And they are all leaving just because they do not get enough pay here. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think as government we need to come out and facilitate our workers much better. The wage for the health workers is still very, very low, and that's why they opt to go. They don't have the morale when they are at their places of work. However, Right Honorable Speaker, that said, my predecessors have also put it right. As members of parliament, we also need to take our health very serious. Most of us, it's a routine to wake up in the morning, have your breakfast, sit in a car, and come to parliament. The only thing you will do if you're not using a lift is climbing these stairs, going to the canteen, or going to the second floor, going to the speaker's office. We do not work out at all. We need a health body. Maybe we could get to know our diseases faster than we get to know now. However, we take it for granted. Right, Honorable Speaker, we also need to look at our mothers who are giving birth. And this very parliament has suffered a lot. I have seen it in the past parliament when we lost a worker in parliament. The late, I think she was called Remy. She was giving birth and she passed on in a health facility we think is one of the first-class facilities in the country. Remy died, I think, because of overbreeding. We are now losing a member of parliament in the same circumstances of giving life. We need not to talk just, but to walk the talk. Let us move forward and walk the talk and make sure our facilities have the equipment that is needed. Let the workers have the morale to go there and work. Otherwise, you're not doing anything good for our people. Other than coming here and we keep paying tribute after tribute, it will not help us at all. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to second the motion, and may her soul rest in eternal peace.
Okay, honourable members, I just want to reaffirm that there is a gym in this parliament, and I want you to use it. We also have a doctor. We have a parliamentary doctor, so you can check. Oh no, Sirwanyi, it's only the staff who go there. Now I hear it's only the staff who use it. The members don't use it, but it's here. The facility is here. Oh no, Sirwanyi Jena Bas.
When you go alone, you say.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here as one of the people who was there almost when Honorable Irat had just died. Right Honorable Speaker, it was on Friday at about 10 p.m. that I received a call. I was attending a family function. I received a call from the woman MP of Bujiri district and Honorable Taka Agnes, and she told me, Solomon, our whip, where are you? I told her I'm attending a function. She said, Honorable Highlight is in great pain. If you could get any female MP, you go with a female MP because it needed somebody female to attend to the situation and to help her. Right Honorable Speaker, I panicked and immediately left the function and started to run around. Right Honorable Speaker, I made calls and calls. I realized members of parliament after 10 p.m. are very hard to get on phone. I called and called and called and could not. So fortunately, my wife came back home and I managed to get a female person, Right Honorable Speaker, and we rushed immediately to the hospital. Right Honorable Speaker, when we were rushing, instead of going to the extension of Kawempe, we first rushed to Mulago hospital, the main hospital. On reaching there, we were told it is the Kawempe branch, the extension. Right Honorable Speaker, I then rushed to Kawempe. When I reached Kawempe, I found when Honorable Hairat Kauda Grace Magumba had just had her last breath. She was lying in the corridor where she died from. Yes, she died from a corridor in Kawempe Health Center. I asked the doctors around. They told me they realistically brought her when it was too late. They tried to do everything possible. They said it would not work. Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted to see if she was the one. So when I reached, I opened the blanket that she was being covered in. Right Honorable Speaker, it was like she had not yet died. She had smiles on the dead body. You would see her like smiling with her similar dimples that we know on her face. Right Honorable Speaker, I broke down. We started making numerous calls. Right Honorable Speaker, we were in the corridors of the hospital up to about 4 a.m. Right Honorable Speaker, because we were told, when I contacted the doctors, and I think they were right, they told me, Honorable, your case is no longer an emergency because she has already died. We have emergency cases that we are handling very urgently and people are still dying. So give us time to finish with other emergency cases and then we shall get to you. So because Honorable had already died, I relaxed because it was no longer an emergency. As advised by the doctors, I understood. At 4 a.m., Right Honorable Speaker, that is when we managed to get the mortuary attendant. We had to send a car to pick the mortuary attendant, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, it was at that time that we managed to take her, the body of the late, to the mortuary. Right Honorable Speaker, from the onlook of things and looking at what was around, it seemed the late Kauda Grace Hailat Magumba died in great pain. She died in pain. Right Honorable Speaker, as Busoga, we have lost. She was a woman with a very assertive attitude, a very meticulous character, and she had started to make monumental achievements for Busoga. And this is seen in what she did and what came out always from her district. Madam Speaker, I shared with her sister, one of the sisters, Hadija, when we were there at the moment of death. It seemed Case Hospital is not helping patients in this country. Because everybody was there, Hadija was saying in case they just said, take her, we cannot handle. I don't know if technically or medically you are supposed to push away a patient who is dying. I think that one the health workers or the people with a medical background should tell us. Madam Speaker, we request this House and your office that we work on the issue of the Member of Parliament health insurance package, because the issue that made the late Honorable Hailat Kauda not to go to Nakasero Hospital at that time or any other hospital is because the financial year was coming to an end and the health insurance, I think, had just expired and they are not renewed. That is what the family told me. Madam Speaker, we also request that this Parliament also looks at the contracts of service providers like Uganda Funeral Services,
Order.
A+, Madam Speaker, because when a member dies, everything should be clear, Madam Speaker, on what is supposed to be handled. and how the family is supposed to be given a befitting send-off. Madam Speaker, Honorable Highlight Kawuda was a typical woman, beautiful physically, beautiful in the heart, beautiful in the mind, and beautiful before God, because she really did always the 5 swallows. We have lost a woman in Busoga that we shall not replace. Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Suranyi. I just want to clarify that Honorable Kauda was supposed to be under Jubilee Insurance Company Limited. She was supposed to be under Jubilee Insurance Company. I've got the list. I've got list of everybody here. So it's not true that it has expired. This is where she was supposed to be. Abbas and then Chaka.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Indeed, colleagues, it's a pity. My condolences and those of my constituency to the family, to you, the Speaker, to the country, upon the demise of our colleague at a very young age. Madam Speaker, incidentally, I think in this House, I'm one of the few people who knew the Honorable Irat a little more. I had met her before while she was a youth leader, when I was chairman of the youth, and finally we met in Parliament. She entrusted me with some of her work as her lawyer, and lawyers keep information in trust of clients. Madam Speaker, I'm one of the people who spoke to her on that day amidst challenges. But let me say this. One, we are saddened. True, it's very unfortunate our colleague passed on, but you colleagues, members of Parliament, did a great job when you came in big numbers to send off that colleague. It was a great sign of support, a sense of togetherness, and you kept the family at least at bay. Madam Speaker, Honorable Irat, he was a person who was not rushable, who was never in a rush. She lived casually, simply, and easily. There are 2 colleagues I've seen with such a personality here. Unfortunately, Honorable Highlight has passed on, but the other one I told him, Honorable Bagoli. They are not in a rush. They take life easily. No, it's not bad. I've already told him about it. He knows it. They take life. They take things easy. They are not in a rush.
Order.
I have shared this with Honorable Bagoli, and he knows, so there's no problem about it. But the point I'm making, Madam Speaker, is about a month or 2, we met at the steps with, about a month, with Honorable Hirat. And this time, the pregnancy was evident. So I joked with her and I told her that now the reason you have been disappearing at Parliament is obvious. You don't need to hide away anymore, you should come and be at Parliament. We laughed about it. But when we laughed about it, I asked her, where are you, whom are you seeing, who is your gynecologist? In fact, I nominated her 2 people, gynecologists, that you could see. She said, no, I already went to Nakasero. I said, at what age? About 2 months. But when I need one, I'll tell you. So I didn't want to push it hard because maybe I thought she could be having some other person she was seeing. But in actual sense, it appeared she had not registered herself with a personal gynecologist. And at this time of 6 months of pregnancy, it was so important. And really, we believe in the judgment of God, that when God decides, whatever He decides is done. But if she had been with a personal gynecologist who was seeing her in this period, that pressure would have been detected a bit earlier, I think. 2, again about her personality. I learned later that about 2 days before her death, the younger sister, Hadija, who was looking after her, saw as if she had some swellings. She was a bit swollen, her body. I told her, why don't you go to hospital? You don't look okay. She said in her normal tone, there's no part I'm feeling that is paining me. When there's a problem, I'll go. Still again about her personality. The time the attack happened, Madam Speaker, they were at home, but it seems she didn't have a plan of leaving home. So when the attack happened, even her car was not available to get her to move. So
the neighbor helped her actually to take her to hospital. These are facts that we must share. Because some of them have even caused a problem in the family. Some people think maybe she was not given adequate attention. I think everything was done. When they got her, when the neighbors took her to Chititale, the situation worsened. She was no longer in control of herself. Now, it is the young sister, Hadija, who was with her, who was managing her. Her phone blacked out. The MP's phone blacked out. Now, the last she had talked to Hadija was she needed Honorable Taka to her. But Hadija didn't have Honorable Taka's number. I think that's how they ended up calling me. Because Hadija is a lawyer and she has been coming to our law firm. So when she called me, said, the Honorable is in pain and she's in a very bad condition. Please get us the number of Honorable Taka. I didn't ask for details. But when I asked her, what about the insurance? She said she had not yet renewed the insurance. I said, no, wherever she has been insured from, you can go there. Now, quickly in the mind of the person who was next to her, quickly in the mind of the person, Hadija, who was with her, she called her gynecologist in Uganda, the one who had helped her to deliver the first child. And it's that gynecologist who told her that, please, the pressure that you have told me they have measured, rush that patient quickly to case clinic. If the other one had told her take her to Nakasero, she would have gone to Nakasero. It appears now, like we can see, Hairat was not in control of anything. To Nakasero, they sent them to government because they couldn't manage them. They said the guy on duty was not available and the situation was out of hand. Actually, they spoke to the guy on duty from where she was, or where he was, and advised they take her to a government facility. At that point, colleagues, you are not in control of anything. The next time I called to ask, why at Kawempe, the MP had been biting herself, biting. So they put something in her mouth and tried to seal it off to prevent her from biting her tongue the more. I could read from the situation as I was talking to Hadija, the situation was getting out of hand. Madam Speaker, I was in the constituency. I moved out of the constituency to town because of the circumstances under which things were happening, that we were able to send a message or whichever would be required. Finally, when I called after, I called Honorable Taka and said, please, call Honorable Kauda. It seems they need you urgently. She had wished that Honorable Taka would sign for her because she had been informed they would operate her and remove the child to save her. At that time, that's what would be done. Later on, when I called Honorable Taka, she was in tears. I didn't even wait to listen to her on the phone. I called Hadija and it was tears. About 11 o'clock and the MP had passed on. I think I was one of the few who texted messages on WOPA to say our colleague seems to have departed. Madam Speaker, the short of it, yes, maybe that's what God had decided. I'm Muslim, I believe. We don't doubt the will of God. But like colleagues are saying, maybe it's a wake-up call for us to perhaps manage ourselves different. I'm talking about a person I knew well. That is what has happened. But maybe it could have been managed better. Madam Speaker, two little points to make. One, colleagues felt as if the late had not been treated well because she was not brought to Parliament to be prayed for. I am happy this has been explained, but I would like to emphasize that the Islamic ethos dictate that when a person dies, they are buried wherever they have died, and they are buried as soon as possible. Even the negotiation to have the Honorable Irat buried on a Sunday was a very strong compromise on the side of the family because they are very, very outstanding Muslims. So I'm happy we have this session to eulogize her and recognize her contribution, but, okay, clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to seek clarification from my colleagues with a great pain. When my colleague made mention that our colleague died on the corridor, I would like to find out at what time did she reach Mulago Hospital, Kawempe, and she took how long at the corridor without being attended to. Right Honourable Speaker, this is very serious matter.
No, Honourable Member, I think you are not in Uganda. the Minister of Health explained the circumstances from Kitintale Health Clinic to Case Clinic to Chirudu. The minister explained minute by minute. It was not because they did not, maybe later, maybe Minister, you speak.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. I thank you for giving me this opportunity on behalf of Ministry of Health to explain to our colleagues the report on the late Honorable Kauda, the former woman member of parliament for Uganda district. Colleagues, the late Honorable Kauda was unwell, actually, as it has been pointed out, for the last 2 weeks before her death. She developed progressive history of swelling of the legs and body face and the face. On Wednesday before she died, she complained of epigastric pain. There was a serious pain in her chest, but there was no medical attention that was sought. There was no record of the medication that she took. Then on Friday, that very day she died, colleagues, that pain in the chest worsened. It was over lunch that she complained of the pain, and the pain eventually was associated with profuse vomiting. She vomited, she became restless, and then the family members and the neighbors made decision at 3 p.m. to take her to a health facility. Immediately, she was taken to Chitintale Hospital at 6:30 p.m. The sister, in the company of the neighbors, took her to Chitintale, where she was found to be drowsy, restless, and she had bilateral swelling of the legs, as well as swelling on the face. The blood pressure at that time was 217/130. The white cell count showed signs of infection. The platelets were very high. The HB was normal, random blood sugar was normal, and from Chitintale, they made the diagnosis of severe preeclampsia with bacterial infection. Immediately, she was started on some magnesium sulfate and other treatment. Immediately, at 8:30 p.m., she was self-referred, as it has been explained, to Case Hospital for further management. And from Case Hospital, the medical officer on duty indeed assessed her and called the gynecologist on phone. On describing the condition of the patient, the gynecologist immediately advised an urgent referral to Mulago National Referral Hospital in Kawempe. And indeed, from Case Clinic, Case Hospital, she was given labetalol before referring to Mulago. At 10:57 p.m., they were in Kawempe Hospital for further management. While on the way to Kawempe Hospital, she had convulsions, secretions on the mouth. As a result, she became unconscious. By the time they arrived Mulago Hospital, she was unconscious. Significantly, colleagues, there was no history of headache. There was no history of dizziness. There was no documented history of hypertension. No history of asthma, as it has been claimed. Remarkably, colleagues, there was no antenatal register card, and therefore, she had not yet attended antenatal care, as some of you have said, though she was at second trimester of the pregnancy. What was found from Kawempe Hospital, she was critically ill, convulsing, drowsy, unconscious. The Glasgow Coma scale was 6 out of 15. There were secretions from the mouth. The pupils were equal but reactive. Pressure had gone pretty high, 247 out of 168. And she had already involvement of the lungs, bilateral crepitation. The fetal heart was not hard. The baby had died. So the diagnosis of eclampsia with intrauterine fetal death and aspiration pneumonia was made from Mulago. Immediately, this was not in the corridor. I should be very clear. It was in the hospital. She was put on oxygen therapy. She was given airway to prevent further secretion and damage to the air. She was given catheterized and she was being monitored vital signs. Blood was removed for electrolyte, liver function, renal function. She was started on treatment with hydralazine. At 11:20 p.m., colleagues, our beloved colleague went into cardiac arrest. Immediately, they started resuscitating. In medical, we don't resuscitate a patient in a corridor. The patient was resuscitated while in the hospital, in emergency room. She was resuscitated, but the result was negative. At 11:55 p.m., the pupils were dilated and fixed. The heart stopped, and the respiratory rate was no more. And that was the time she died in the hospital. Colleagues, she didn't die from the corridor. What I should make very clear, and the chairperson of health committee was present. I even discussed this with him. We do not have mortuary at Kawempe Hospital. Kawempe is not a clinic, it's not a health center, it is a hospital, part of Mulago. Mortuary is in Mulago Hospital, which is being renovated. At Kawempe, we do not have mortuary, and normally in medical situation, when a patient dies, you don't leave that person with the rest of the patients on the ward. Immediately the patient is taken to a mortuary. So what happened on that day? Yes. What happened on that day, which was witnessed by the chairperson of health committee, the patient indeed was rolled out after he has died at the corridor. And I think with the support of the chairperson of health committee, they began to get a room. Which room was allocated to put to put the late honorable in that room, because it was in the night. Ideally, during the day, the patient is to be picked from Kawempe to Mulago Mortuary. So since it was in the night, the only option is to let the patient out. I'm happy for the support the chairperson of the committee and the members of parliament has given at that time to ensure that she was put in a comfortable place, thereafter transported to mortuary in Mulago Hospital. Colleagues, I want to make this categorically clear. When she was brought in Mulago Hospital mortuary, postmortem was done by government pathologists, and there were 2 pathologists. And the finding from postmortem was very clear. First of all, they found the really cause of the death was excessive bleeding all over the body, what we call disseminated intravascular coagulation. The bleeding was found in the brain with 30 grams of blood clot. They found bleeding in the liver. They found blood and bleeding in the adrenal glands as well as the kidney. That shows very clear the disease was at later stage. So the postmortem results were inconsistent with high blood pressure in pregnancy. So that confirms with what some of you have been saying. This has been a progressive problem, but probably because of the busy schedule we have, because of the pressures we have, we may not have put enough time to look after ourselves. But as Ministry of Health, our sincere condolences, and indeed we really condemn and we are not happy the manner in which our colleague died. Certainly she will have been saved, even if not from health insurance, but from any clinic. And Madam Speaker and colleagues, there is always a lesson we can learn. Probably this is a high time that we really need to give time for ourselves, time for our health, and make use of the insurance that we have so that we don't have spare for life. We really have one spare. Once it is gone, it's gone. And finally, Madam Speaker, I want to say that as Ministry of Health, the government has not left the health sector in the hands of the private sector. We are still in charge, and good percentage, over 60% of the facility are still under government. We have the private, but the private does not take charge of the health facility.
Okay.
And Madam Speaker,
maybe we allow Honorable Abbas to complete his statement. I think the message is very clear.
Yes. What I want to say is that as leaders, we should speak really the truth, that in record our sister was not left in corridor. Secondly, Kawempe is not a health center.
Order.
And lastly,
not in a tribute.
Order.
No Minister of Health who does not believe in her own health system. May her soul rest in eternal peace.
Now, honourable members, as I invite Honourable Abbas to conclude, I just want for the record to say that last Saturday was one of the hardest days for the Speaker. I was caught between having to fulfill the Muslim rights, to make sure that she's buried on that day in Uganda, but also to see how can I organize a session when she has not been operated, the baby is still in the body. You know, it was really hard. And we had to appeal to the family, please, can we do it tomorrow? It was really, really very tough. It's not that we didn't want to bring her. It was not possible. Yes. Honorable Abbas.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, thank you. Thank you very much.
Please conclude.
Yes, as I conclude, specifically to say thank you to you, because you are involved. You are informed at night, and you got involved deeply and fully. And even what we are talking through as negotiations, if it was not for your presence, it would have been more difficult for us to succeed. I want us to request members that we be consoled. Unlike other barriers and death, for the Muslims, we don't trace in detail what happened where, as if you would have saved this person. But at heart, we are comfortable. Our colleague has gone. We can't get her back. We can learn some lessons to improve. The Quran has told us that in the last 40 days before somebody dies, there are evident signs that that person is going to die. But we don't know them until when the person dies, and then you say, hey, the other day she was sick, this time he was here. When you trace in those last 40 days, you realize that actually those signs that the person was passing are gone. But we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that from God we came, and unto him we shall have our return, and may our sister rest in eternal peace.
Honorable Latif Taka, Katali, then I think the Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
There.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Muslim Parliamentary Caucus, and on my personal behalf as the Parliamentary Imam, we extend our deepest condolences to you, Madam Speaker, to the family, and also to members of Parliament and the people of Uganda upon the death of Honorable Hairat. Madam Speaker, Honorable Hairat, when she came in the 10th Parliament, after 2-3 months, we had a meeting as members of the Muslim Parliamentary Caucus, and unanimously we agreed and elected her as our Secretary General, a job she has executed until her death. Madam Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, when I met Honorable Hairat at a workshop for the Parliamentary Forum on Health, it was in Raida. We spent almost 2 hours trying to take her through, because he had very many programs for the youth, for the disabled, and he was trying to learn how have we been conducting our parliamentary work. As members of Parliament who have been here for some time, and we went through a lot. But what I observed, Madam Speaker, Honorable Hairat had a very, really passionate to the voters. He was so much concerned about uplifting the people of Uganda district. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Muslim Parliamentary Caucus, who have contributed and deposited 1 million shilling towards the fund, the Amila Fund, because we think that as members of Parliament, whatever we can contribute towards the little girl she left behind will really go a long way in as far as ensuring that the education of that small girl is really maintained. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Honorable Taka. Taka, then Katali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the motion. Madam Speaker, I met Hairat just after the NRM primaries. I didn't know her before. Madam Speaker, the late Honorable Hairat was a principled person. She came to Bugiri when we were in our primaries, and she had come through a friend to support somebody else. Madam Speaker, when Honorable Hairat reached there, she came back, and when we met, she said, when I reached in Bugiri, I decided to support you, much as I did not know you. Because the person they had taken me to support was not the quality that would help the community of Bugiri. That is when we became friends. She was a person of her word. Madam Speaker, we have been here as friends. And there is nothing that I can give now apart from getting the courage to speak. Madam Speaker, I was called on Friday at about 10:30 when Honorable Hairat was in very bad condition. Honorable members, the issue of phones. So much as we get so many pressures from our voters, it's important that we leave our phones on at night and pick calls. Madam Speaker, when I got that call, the phone that I had, the battery had gone off and power had gone off in Bugiri. But the small phone that I had some numbers that I tried to call. I even called you, but I could not get you. I called Edwin. I could not get to Edwin. I called the Right Honorable Speaker, Olanya, Deputy Speaker. He picked, but he seemed to be in very deep sleep. However, I tried to explain to him, and I told him the situation that was prevailing over the life of Honorable Hairat. Because they called me, the person who called me told me that she's in very bad state, the pressure is very high, but wherever you are, just come right here. Madam Speaker, that time I had just arrived in Ibujiri. I had just arrived in my home. I could not jump over. I wish I could. Madam Speaker, I struggled until I got to Honorable Solomon. When he heard me really lamenting, he even asked that Agnes, should I go to the hospital? I told him, if you can, please go. Madam Speaker, Honorable Solomon really showed that he's a friend because he heard my cries. But just on his way, in the process, as I was trying to reach out to other members, I got a call from the Secretary General of the NRM party. And he asked me, Agnes, she asked me, is Honorable Highlight pregnant? I told her, yes, she's around 6 months pregnant, but I got a call that she's in very, very bad condition. Her pressure is very high. Madam Speaker, the Secretary General informed me that she has been told that Honorable Highlight has passed away. Honorable members, Honorable Highlight, I got to know that she was pregnant when she was around 3 months. And I asked her, I said, it seems so early. Did you consult your doctor? She explained to me a lot of issues as women, and she said she was seeing her gynecologist. She always talked about Dr. Bwanika. I don't know whether he's the doctor in Uganda or in Nakasero, but that is the doctor that she talked about always. I think the pressure just came to grab her, Right Honorable Speaker and members. Just 1.5 or 2 months before her death, she got an accident on Ginger Road, and her car was damaged. So I called her. We used to do so many things together. And that day, we were supposed to go to come and write down something about groups. So I called her, I said, where are you? Said, my friend, I was coming, but we got an accident. But we were not hurt. I'm coming. When I waited, she could not come. I called her. She said, I was not feeling well, so we had to go to hospital. I'm sure, as a mother, I know, even if you have not gone for antenatal, but you keep on visiting the doctor, they will always find out your pressure, they will always find out the fetal heart, they will always find out where the baby is lying, left or right. They do those things, Right Honorable Speaker and members. But the pressure came and grabbed her. I don't know from where. I don't know what brought it. I don't know what happened. It came and grabbed her. Maybe in the 2 weeks before when she started swelling, maybe that time, because that time I was not with her, it's possible that maybe she thought pregnant women sometimes swell. Maybe that is the time she failed to go to hospital. Right Honorable Speaker, we have missed a very, very intelligent woman, very lethal on ground, very humble, but full of ideas, developmental. Madam Speaker, we never discussed trivia with Honorable Highlight. We were always on issues. Issues of the youth, issues of education, issues, developmental issues only. I would like to convey my sincere condolences to the family. On this floor of Parliament, I want to applaud our mother, because in our discussions, Honorable Highlight applauded her and cherished her. Most of the time here in Africa, when a husband dies, we quickly rush to go and marry. Honorable Hirat Mama applauded you for keeping them, for bringing them up when they were orphans. She really applauded you for that, and we applaud you. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to pray that the soul of Honorable Hirat rests in peace. We shall miss her.
Members, I think we did conclude. Honorable Katari, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving this opportunity of paying tribute to my fallen sister. To me, she was like a sister. We all know Hirat was calm. She was young, intelligent, and so knowledgeable about many issues, especially those concerning the women and the youth. And I learned a lot of things from her. Right Honourable Speaker, Hirat had enrolled for SCA because she told me she wanted to become a professional accountant, and I was one of her consultants in that area. Just like she was a consultant, she was one of my political consultants because she joined politics before me. A lot has been said by the honorable members, and therefore I will not take a lot of time to do that. She has applauded our mom, but also said thank you to the husband, because during our discussions with Hirat, she said that if it wasn't her husband, she wouldn't have made it to this 10th Parliament. To the little baby, it's my prayer that Amal grows up to take on what her mother had started, and that she grows up to become a powerful woman. Right Honourable Speaker, my representative at sub-county level is Hirat's big brother. We had issues during the campaigns, but Hirat came and sorted out all that. To the family, I know God is in control. To God, honorable members, we know death is with us, but I think it's becoming too much. We are asking the God that we need divine intervention as members of this parliament. Can the winds of death go to other parts of this country, maybe outside this country? Because within 1 year, we have buried 3. Let my...
Okay, Honorable Bahati, and then Adom, Kaud, Kisa, and then the Minister.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the people of Kabale and my family, I send my heartfelt condolence to you, Abdallah, the husband, and the family, and the people of Uganda on this sorrowful loss. Madam Speaker, last Wednesday, I made a statement on population issues here in this House, and the issue of maternal mortality was raised by many, many members in this House. Little did we know that one of our own sister would be crossing the river of life just 1 day after that debate. Now, Honorable Kauda Grace belongs to the ages, but we shall forever remember her in so many ways. One, we remember her as a rising star in the Busoga politics and indeed in the politics of our country. We shall remember her as a hard-working and young person who loved her party and her country. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I recently read a small book entitled, Who Will Cry When You Die? It is about the legacy. Her contribution as the youth councillor and the first-term member of Parliament has left an important legacy that all of us should reflect on. It is true that we have made some good progress on the front of maternal mortality by reducing it from 535 to now 336 per 100,000 women. But together, in memory of the loss of our sister, we can fight to ensure that no woman should die while giving birth or from complications that we can handle. Let us also learn from the wisdom of the Holy Book, the Bible, which tells us that let us learn how to number our days. let us use this fleeting life, the little time that we have on earth, to do good to one another and promote the common good of all of us. Madam Speaker, on Sunday, our sister Grace made her last journey to Magogo in Uganda. We want to thank the people of Uganda, Mwebalinyo, for supporting our sister and for loving her, and we want to assure you that we will continue to stand with you in the coming months and years ahead of us. May God bless our sister's soul.
Lilia Dong, then Karuya Gideon, the chair of rules where she worked, vice chair of gender where she also worked. Then I come to you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Amuru and on my own behalf, allow me to send my deepest condolence to the family. I served with the late in the gender committee, and that is how I got to know her. And I preferred to call her Grace because she reminded me of my mother. My mother is called Grace. And indeed, like her name, she was so graceful. She was one person who never spoke anyhow, but when she spoke, she really spoke with substance. And indeed, what has been spoken about her being very hardworking, she's truly hardworking. And I saw it every time she would consult, because she thought I had been in this parliament for long, and she would say, how do you do this? I want to do this for my people. I also became very close to her because I got to know that she represents the people of Uganda. And for 4 years, the people of Uganda educated me because I went to Uganda SS. So I became very close to her, and I loved her like a sister. And really, when I heard about her death, I was out of the country. It is unfortunate. I never got to bury a friend. But I'm hoping and believing in God, the God of mercy, the God of love, that her soul will rest in peace. And the little girl who has been spared, I pray that God will continue to give you long life. And like one speaker said, may you leave your mother's legacy. Maybe it was God's wish that she stops at 30, and that you will double, perhaps triple, what your mother has ended now. Madam Speaker, allow me to end here, but my deepest condolence to the family, and may God really, really strengthen you. I say this for God and my country.
Okiza, then Gideon, Obote.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to pay tribute to my late sister, Honorable Kauda Highlight. It is very clear that Parliament is unusual today because of the fallen colleague that we've just lost. And it is also clear that very different voices are coming up about the death or the causes of death of Kauda. But what is very clear also is that we still have a life to lead, we as parliamentarians, and we also need to be very cautious on how we lead our lives. The previous speakers have all spoken, and they have talked about how we are handling our lives as parliamentarians and generally as people who are still alive. I want to remember Kauda's last days, especially the last week that I physically met her. That was the time when we hosted the First Lady on the 27th, Tuesday the 27th of June. We sat just next to each other, and at that time, I realized that she had the swollen feet. I asked her what the problem was, and she said she just had swollen feet and she didn't know what was going on. She was weak, because when we stood up to go and receive the First Lady, she couldn't stand for long. She kept holding my hand and telling me that, Andrew, I can't stand any longer. By the time we were singing the national anthem, she couldn't stand. I told her, you can stay seated and just raise your hand. Most of our voters thought that at that time she was only being either arrogant or proud, because she's always one silent person who doesn't talk much. When we had the president on Thursday, the 29th, the same thing happened. When we had the First Lady for the Day of the African Child, it was her supposed to preside over the whole function in terms of the area member of parliament, or member of parliament. But she couldn't do that, and she requested me to give in her speech, which I actually did. When we had the president on the 29th of June, Thursday, the same thing happened. She could not stand for long when we were waiting for the president. By the time we reached the tents, she told me, Andrew, I cannot even walk. That was a week before she died. She had a very deep cough. And when I asked her whether she was seeing the doctor, she told me, it is not serious, I'm just feeling cold. I think that was a little bit of laxity on her part. There was a lot of stress that was going on, but she could not accept that she needed medical attention. When I kept asking her whether she had seen the doctor, she used to tell me, she kept telling me that she will go. So when we really look into this, I think we are taking our lives a little bit carelessly, I would say. I'm sorry to use that word. But whatever happened to Kauda was sequential. It was coming one after another, one after another. And by the time it really got her to the point that she breathed her last breath, I think it was obvious that this was going to come to this. When we were in Mbarara, we had gone to attend a function at Honorable Mwine's function in Mbarara. On my way back is when I got the call. And the first thing I thought, maybe she was giving birth. But we need to clear the impression. Others, and actually the talk in town, the talk in Uganda, is that she was either giving birth or she was aborting. Can you imagine? That is how loosely people can take some of these matters. So we as Parliament, we need to set the record as straight as the Health Minister has given it to us. I also don't want to agree with Honorable Silwani when he says that Kauda died in the corridors. Because that very night I was also there, and the sister who was with Kauda, Hadija, narrated everything to me. Kauda was in the wards, she was not outside. So that one also is something that we need to clear. Her going to Chitintale, her going to Case Clinic, and finally Mulago in Kawempe, I think Kauda's going to Chitintale was not because she didn't have medical health insurance. It is because it was the nearest health service that she could afford. That one we also need to clear. When she goes to Case Clinic, it was upon the advice of the doctors. 1 minute. May I please complete? Yeah, just, okay. Just as I conclude, Madam Speaker, thank you so much. We also need to handle the issue of the money that is given to A+ during these functions like the funeral. They talk of 67 million, and the public knows that that money is given to the organizing committee. As being part of the organizing committee that organized the send-off of Kauda, we were harassed, especially Honorable Peter Mugema and Honorable Barieku. The public believes that they took this money. This is something that we should also know and clarify where this money goes and how much it is and how much, what it is supposed to do. Because it reached midnight, and I think, Right Honorable Speaker, we gave you a lot of calls at that time on how to handle the gap, the financial gap that we had of over 17 million shillings, just to cover up what A+ had done. Because the level of the send-off that we were giving Kauda was not befitting, what A+ was providing was not befitting of Kauda's status. So that is something that we should address. The health insurance issue is also something that we should look at. Finally, Madam Speaker.
Now, Honour Gideon, now, Honour members, on the question of A+, the Commission is going to address it because starting with the Honourable Imalingat, they short-landed the chairs, short-landed the water, short-landed the food, and it has happened again. So the Commission is going to take a position on A+. This is the second time they are short-landing. That's Imalingat. That's Imalingat. That's what I've said. So that one we shall address. However, the insurance, why I talked about the insurance, they should have been able to get her earlier Those weeks when she was saying, I'm not feeling well, you surely should have been able to get her, either in her house or take her to the hospital. Honorable Gideon.
Right on. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the motion to pay tribute to our fallen colleague. Madam Speaker, Honorable Highlight happened to be my OG from secondary in Uganda, and I want to inform the House that we've lost a colleague and a friend. I came to learn of Highlight's pregnancy 3 months ago, and when we met in Ginger during the by-election of our friend Wariomo, I asked her why she was sacrificing herself and the baby to be in the campaigns. You know how tough campaigns are. But Highlight has a heart. She felt for Wariomo and indeed had to sacrifice to be there up to the day of the elections. That explains how sympathetic, how friendly, and how moving a friend she was. Madam Speaker, I want to just make this statement. That as men, we may blame our fallen colleague for not being so fast in attending to her health. But to us men, we also need to understand the situation that our women go through when they are pregnant. It is very, very important. When we are moving in love, we move together. And at the time when our friends are carrying the pregnancy, we need to move with them. I think it is an issue that we really need to take seriously as gentlemen. It touches every man in this house. It touches every man in this country, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, I want to thank colleagues for coming to Uganda to send off our friend. The people of Uganda showed us that indeed they voted grace. They came in big numbers, and indeed they showed that they had really lost their area member of parliament. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the organizing committee for doing such a tremendous job, and yourself.
No, but then Chair of WOPA, then Honorable Banywa, then we come to the Minister here.
So, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the Committee on Rules, Privileges and Discipline, to which Honorable Highlight belonged as a member, to second this motion to pay tribute to her memory. She was a diligent member of the committee. She never missed a meeting without personally calling me to explain why she wasn't coming. On Tuesday, she attended our committee meeting and informed me that she would not be able to attend Thursday's committee meeting. I remember meeting her on Thursday afternoon. She was on phone, but as was usual with her, she took time to say hello to me before she continued with her conversation. Highlight was a very, very unique person in a way. In spite of the pressures that we face as members of parliament, I always observed that she took the time to give that human touch to her colleagues, to people who worked with her. And that is demonstrated by the spirit that the Committee of Rules and the staff have demonstrated in personally by themselves, collecting 1.4 million shillings, which they have given me to hand over as their contribution to the Amira Fund for the education of that young girl. Colleagues, I learned something simple from the death of our colleague. We are very busy, and sometimes we don't have time for each other. Now, when she said hello to me and said she would see me on Tuesday, that was actually her final greeting to me. Whenever you meet a colleague in this house, these are our best colleagues. I hope one day they are the same people who will speak well of me also. So take time to notice each other and to say hello. Thank you, Mayor.
Honorable Chair of Honorable Botte, you can take the contribution to the Speaker's office. We are going to call the family and hand over the collections. Honorable
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the people of Kumi and on my own behalf, I send you my greatest condolences, Madam Speaker, to the family, to this Parliament, particularly the Busoga Caucus, and indeed the entire country, for the great loss of our colleague. Madam Speaker, in a special way, I condole with the people of Busoga because I was raised by the Basoga, even if the Iteso gave birth to me. The Basoga raised me most of my life, and therefore, Honorable Highlight was my sister. Madam Speaker, in terms of that language is, that word is a bit tough for me. Eulogizing Honorable Kauda. What stands out strongly for me is the challenge in our health sector. Even if there were some gaps at individual level, that our honorable colleague had some gaps in terms of accessing the health service, what we should not lose as this house is the fact that she died due to pregnancy-related causes, and this is the issue that this house should hold on to in this death. Madam Speaker, the lesson we are learning in this is, of course, what we've always cried about in this house. We've always talked about the challenge of losing mothers due to pregnancy-related causes. Honorable Highlight died a heroine to me, because as women in this country, you get pregnant, you keep praying every other day whether you're going to make it till the end. I went through the same process. Every day of my life I was praying and saying, God, give me the grace to overcome. It should not be like this. Delivery, childbirth-related sicknesses should not kill a woman. That is a sign of a country that has given up on its health sector. Madam Speaker, 16
Honourable members, I think you are misdirecting the debate. The Honourable Highlight died of pregnancy-related illness. She was not delivering. No, she developed high blood pressure as a result of pregnancy. That cannot be really the fault of the health system. Please, please. Yes, Honourable Anywa, then Honourable Mbayo.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm here to support the motion to pay tribute to our dear sister, Honourable Highlight Grace, who happened to be a member of my Committee of Gender, Labour and Social Development, where I am a vice chair. Right Honourable Speaker, I've known Honourable Grace on the committee as a very quiet, humble lady, committed, very stable, and she's always very attentive. I send my condolences to the family, to the people of Uganda and Uganda as a country. we have lost a very humble young lady. At 31, indeed, she had a lot to do for this country. Madam Speaker, we are here as members paying tribute, but we should not lose direction that we have the members of the bereaved family whom our words should comfort them. We should indeed let them not go back while they are really hurt. Probably, if there's anything more we can do as legislators, Madam Speaker, we sit here, we can still talk as a country, as legislators. But today, as a member of this House, we are here to stand with you, family, that we have lost a very dear one. And that's why all of us, we are giving tribute to a hard-working lady. Madam Speaker, I've been in this House for the last 11 years. My health insurance was at Case Hospital. And indeed, Madam Speaker, when last time you also came there, this is a place where all of us who go there do go there. But Madam Speaker, as legislators, we need not really to rubbish the efforts of all these health services.
For me to conclude.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we as legislators, our words can either encourage the citizens of this country, more so the professionals, or we shall discourage them. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I give testimony on Case Hospital. When I got even an accident, they were even ready to send a chopper. Meanwhile, police and army was also on standby. They brought. Madam Speaker, whenever I want to go to the hospital, Case Hospital, I give a phone call. There is a desk made there specifically for members of parliament. And if you ring, you will find a doctor waiting for you. So if we had a shortcoming as individual, let it not be to demonize the work of professionals in this country. I beg to pray. Madam Speaker, as I sit down, your members here are all, they're actually under pressure. And therefore, Madam Speaker, when I requested that as a parliament, because we had lost one colleague from West Nile, I have forgotten his name, I kept on trying to find out. And gladly, you allowed that the gym be established for members of parliament. Madam Speaker, I've been kindly requesting that officially we open some of these facilities by you showing us how to do it and encourage members. Madam Speaker, we are so stressed, and anything coming to us just finds us already not fit. Therefore, as I sit, Madam Speaker, I hope you will also officially open the gym, which I kindly requested and you allowed it to be done, and encourage members here to check on their health so that we are prepared like Girl Guides. And meanwhile, Madam Speaker, probably you get time and get all these health suppliers, health insurance providers to come and we have a dialogue. This business of politics and then business coming and demonizing each other, it will not help us as a country. I beg to submit.
Honourable members, the Commission is going to handle that, and I've dispatched the backbench commissioners to Tanzania to see, they have, I think, a very effective medical scheme. So I've dispatched the commissioners to go there. They're going to bring a report. But I think we shall arrange our own program of going to the gym, all of us. And again, we have a doctor here. We have a doctor here. You can go and check anytime. Now, as I called Honorable Mbayo, I just wanted to say that when we were in Uganda, I called Hadija. Hadija was with the Honorable Hairat up to the end. But Hadija actually thanked the doctors in the Kawempe. She said they did everything. They were professional. That's what Hadija said. Yes, that's what she said. Honorable.
Right Honourable Speaker, I stand to join the honourable colleagues in supporting the motion to pay tribute to the Honourable Hairat. On behalf of the people of Luoka and on my own behalf, allow me extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Hairat, to the people of Uganda, to you, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, to the Muslim faith, and the entire nation for that big loss. Right Honourable Speaker, Uganda district is a mother district to Luoka, and whatever shocks Uganda district, the fragments are felt in the Luoka district. The people of Luoka join people of Uganda and the entire country in mourning the granddaughter of Uganda. Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Hairat's father died when she was young. Her mother endured the pain, the suffering, and all the challenges that it takes an African woman to nurture the children as a single mother. When Honourable Hairat made it to the 10th Parliament, it was a big achievement to the family. She lived to love her mother and her immediate family members. It took Honourable Hairat time to shift from Uganda to Kampala, even when she was sworn in as a member of the 10th Parliament, just because she felt like being near her mother and her people all the time. Nevertheless, the schedules of the committees that she was designated to made her shift from Uganda to Kampala. It is really a big loss to the family because she had really stood in as a pillar and filled in the gap where the father left them. Right Honourable Speaker, during the times of campaign, I trailed Honourable Hairat. Everybody knows that there are so many bitter words that are exchanged during campaign time. But Hairat never shot back, even when she was provoked. Honourable Hairat has always been visiting my office, and she wanted, and she has always admired to come back to Parliament after this term. She asked me the way forward, and I told her, live with your people, dine with them, be with them, live with them, share their problems with them, and solve what you can solve. Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Hairat has only been transformed from this life, probably which is strainful and with a lot of problems. I believe she has gone to join a peaceful life. May her soul rest in eternal peace.
No, Chivejinja. Haji Chivejinja.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I think I stand here in a unique position, and I would like to accept all your condolences, because the greatest pain is always a grandfather or a father to be at the sides of the burial of his son or daughter or granddaughter. On a personal note, Harriet is the granddaughter of the auntie who is responsible for my upbringing. Secondly, she was born exactly when we had taken over government to bring in new changes. And she has grown up, and I have seen her grow to the position of a member of parliament. So you could understand the type of pleasure that was with me. But I'm consoled by one thing, that normally good people, God always does not want them to overstay. It is because exactly. Can you allow me to make my point?
Order.
It's only either the bad people who have either sinned and God wants them to repent, or he still keeps them around to be able to accomplish what God wanted him to accomplish. So, it is God, because that is history. You know, our Savior only lived on this earth for a very short while. Even the prophet, he also died at a very early age of 63. Well, I think for me as a person, I thought I could bring in that aspect so that you appreciate. Secondly, you should also understand there is no order.
No.
We are mourning.
Not in a tribute.
We are mourning.
Not in a tribute. Not in a tribute.
Calm down. When we are talking of death, it is a serious matter. We all come in this world through one way. God is very gracious. Each one of us has got a mother. And you have understood that this one was a mother. And therefore, if she had related motherhood problems through which God decided to take her away from this world, it is a tribute to respect our mothers. And it was very good counsel that if they are the creators of all of us and all our problems, it was just a good governance that they should also take care of the problems and not leave it to the men. So, as we always say, when somebody dies, normally it brings a lot of anger, a lot of unreasonableness to those who feel the pain. And therefore, they may even talk things that they could not have talked. But when you are well comforted, you know that we all come in this world in one way, but God takes us away in different ways. And Hayret, having come also from a Muslim family and had been able to reach this level and blended with everybody in Uganda, I think that was a very good achievement. And we know that she was representing Uganda. She was representing Uganda.
Time.
Time is over?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, honour members, I think the only lasting tribute we can pay to Honourable Hayrat is for this House to rise to the occasion on the issue of the budget of the health sector. During the budget framework paper, I appealed to the Minister of Finance to increase the budget. It didn't happen. But we are starting now. I think we need to bring up the budget of the health sector just at least in memory of Honorable Hairat. Honourable members, we have other work on the order paper. I now put the question that this House to pay tribute the Honourable Hairat Grace Kauda Magumba. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Let's have it. Honourable members, I direct that the Hansard and the tribute be extracted and given to her family. And I want to inform the family that I've asked the clerk to work out the issues of the estate. I'll be inviting you so that we can update you on what is available, and then we take a decision on how to move in respect, especially to the small girl who will need support. So I'll be inviting the family after the clerk has updated me on the estate. Next item. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper, motion for the adoption of the report of the Select Committee on the Uganda Telecom Limited, on the management and performance of Uganda Telecom Limited.
Now, National Prime Minister, before you came, a number of issues were raised here. One of them was to do with the strike by the prosecutors in the country. So I think members wanted to know what's going to happen to the judicial system in view of that. There was a threat, but now it has actually happened, the strike. Maybe. Yes, you can.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to say a word or two. It is true that we have that challenge of the prosecutors, and Honourable Kahindo Tafire, the Minister for Constitutional Affairs, is following up the matter and has briefed Cabinet, and indeed government is dealing with this important problem. We are aware that there are issues to do with payments and salaries, but my appeal is that our countrymen and women should be patient, because the government is in the process of establishing a salary review commission to ensure that there is removal of these distortions and also a more sustainable salary scale scheme established for our country.
Okay. Honourable members, we go now to item. Are you standing or sitting?
Madam Right Honourable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. The Right Honourable Prime Minister has given the information to Parliament, but is not clear, Right Honourable Speaker, because he's talking of patience and he's not being particular as to when, what is the period, until when, they should be patient until when. Yeah, because that is open-ended, and in this matter, we want to be in the know when and for how long they can be patient.
Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of specificity is well understood. However, government has a number of processes to go through to have this review, salary review commission established. The process has started, and I can come at a later stage, or the minister responsible can come at a later stage after making more thorough consultation with the parties involved, and give this August House a more specific timetable and program for the salary review commission.
On the prosecutors? Yes, Honourable.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. We thank the Right Honourable Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, as Shadow Minister for Public Service, what I would expect the Right Honourable Prime Minister to be speaking about is the issue of the Salaries Harmonization Commission. Madam Speaker, today the prosecutors are striking. The other day it was Makerere. Another day it was the doctors. Tomorrow it will be the human resource officers. We cannot run a public service with that sort of a pay structure. We would expect government to come and tell us specifically when, particularly a bill on the Salaries Harmonization Commission will come, so that we address the issue of salaries once and for all. Otherwise, when we deal with the prosecutors tomorrow, another cadre will come up and strike. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Clarification, Madam Speaker. Yeah, whereas the Prime Minister is talking about a salaries commission, courts not operating because of prosecutors is an emergency. So in the meantime, what do we do? What happens? Because when you say we know, we are aware, I mean, what happens? It's an emergency.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, salary review covers many things. Salary harmonization is an aspect of salary review. So we will come as a government and give this August House a more specific detailed program on the establishment and performance of the Salary Review Commission that has been promised, that is coming. Secondly, the issue of the prosecutors' concerns and strike is one aspect that will be considered, but there are many other departments and institutions of government that need to be looked at in a more comprehensive manner. Hence, the need and urgency for the Salary Review Commission.
Okay, honourable members, the report on the Uganda Telecom was presented. There was also a minority report. The reports have been on your iPads for some time. You are free to debate. You want to say something?
Just to add
You want to give highlights?
on. No, just to add on what you have.
Oh, yes, Honourable Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. As you have rightly put it, the report on the mismanagement of UTL has already been presented. And there is also a minority report subsequent to that. Now what we have is this report has been uploaded into our iPad. So we hope members have had the time to review the reports and internalize it. So we are here now to debate the report and adopt the recommendations that has been made. Thank you.
Honourable Anthony Okello, Honourable Nambeshe.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the collapse of UTL was inevitable, given the report that was presented by the Select Committee and also given the minority report presented by my good friend. The collapse was inevitable because of the weak corporate governance which they had. The governance structure and the principles were not clear. Even the cooperation objectives seem not to have been very clear, and they were not pursued in the context of social, regulatory, and market environment, as stated in the report. And for all these years under review, UTL lacked governance mechanism, including monitoring the actions, policies, practices, decision of corporations, their agents, and affected stakeholders. And yet, in contemporary governance, you look at fundamental principles like rights of equity, interests of other stakeholders, roles and responsibilities of the board, which was not clear. You look at things like integrity and ethical behavior. But with the report presented, Right Honourable Speaker, all these were lacking. And this indicated to me that the collapse of UTL was inevitable. If I may draw your attention to page 15 of the report, the first paragraph and the last line, it is clearly stating that there was weak governance oversight of UTL given the composition of the board. So already we see there was a problem with the composition of the board, and there was absence of published accounts over the period of time. And yet organizations should develop code of conduct that promote ethical and responsible decision making. And this was lacking. And failure for the organization to disclose means there was no transparency and there was complete lack of accountability in UTL. Right, Honorable Speaker, the terms of the contract dictates how a contract is to be performed by each party. And these terms may be expressed or implied terms. And performance of a contract that falls short of the agreed conditions leads to breach of contract. But unfortunate to note, Madam Speaker, is that UCC, the regulator, was not fast enough in regulating UTL in spite of the early signs which we saw. Because UCC should have avoided continuous loss that was incurred by UTL. But this did not happen. We are told that UTL was in breach of many, if not all, its license obligations. Yet they were allowed to operate. And I think, Right Honorable Speaker, this was very regular. Looking at page 18 of the report, UTL was technically insolvent and was heavily indebted. Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Nambesha, then Honorable Balloon, then Atkins.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I must applaud the move of the minority report, particularly when he realizes that in an insolvent situation of UTL, there had been a recommendation by the main report that government should be cautious. And this would leave the burden of the losses and the debt which had accumulated to 700 billion on the shoulders of the taxpayer. And the minority report came out clearly to condemn this because it would overburden our taxpayer. But Madam Speaker, I interested myself particularly in the condemnation by the minority report of a one Godfrey Mutabazi. I know he was the one responsible at the time of elections for frustrating some of us by switching off the media. So I picked interest and critically wondered why the main report had exonerated him, but the minority had condemned him several times. Eventually, I realized that even when indeed I was to vent my anger on him, he had not been accorded a right to a fair hearing, the principle of natural justice. He did not appear, and that in itself was not good enough. And further still, this company of Semlik and Beverages Limited, which is being condemned because he has membership on that company, before he was appointed on Uganda Communications Commission, this company had been incorporated way back before actually he was appointed. And in any case, being a minority shareholder, he could not make decisions or determine which customer would be supplied with which goods. And further still, when a condemnation comes from the Uganda Communications Act, which clearly stipulates
Half a minute to explain that issue.
Mr. President, a member who owns or is a shareholder or is a partner to a company or an organization which manufactures and distributes communication equipment or even supplies communication services, if is appointed on the board, then that would put him in a conflict of interest. In this particular case, the company of Simlik supplies Christmas gifts, hampers, water, and stationery related services, which are not communication services, or which indeed, as the many reporters exonerated him, would not put him in a conflict of interest. So with this.
Honorable Alum, then Aogan Atkins, then Tinker, then I go to Baseke, Centenary, Mbwa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Select Committee for the job well done. Right Honorable Speaker, the problem of UTL to me started from the word go. When the company was being devastating and following with the signing of the different agreements. Right Honorable Speaker, UCOM Limited became the majority shareholder with 51%, and the government of Uganda remains with a minority percentage of 49%. But Right Honorable Speaker, to the greatest shock, to me this was almost equal percentage of sharing the company. But surprisingly, all the major responsibility was entrusted to one party, which was the UCOM. For example, borrowing loans, hiring management, and technical assistance. Madam Speaker, this means that right from the word go, the agreement was done in bad faith. It was signed with a bad faith, and no wonder we could not get anything good out of this agreement which was signed. So my issue here is that who were the people who really represented government, and where are their names? Because this went on up to 2005, when things were moving from bad to worse. And we have not seen them.
Half a minute to conclude. Then we have Honorable Organ.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we have not seen them even being brought on board. Their names are not being mentioned, Madam Speaker. Then, secondly, there were people who had conflict of interest. They were working for the company at the same time having companies trading with the same company. Now, these people must be held accountable, and they must pay for the loss that the company really got. Then, Madam Speaker, I want to mention something about the cabinet decision to revamp this UTL. When you look at the figure which is given, is coming to almost 1.2 trillion, Madam Speaker. And really, given the report that the committee has given us, 700 billion to revamp the dilapidated network. This is, when you add them together, is about roughly 6% of the national budget.
Honorable Organ, then Atkins, then Centenary, Tinker, Baseke, and Mbwa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. First, allow me to appreciate the Select Committee for the report, and also the Honorable Member who provided us with the minority report. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to appreciate the fact that it is not easy to produce a good report. But the two tried their best to produce for us reports. That is well appreciated. Madam Speaker, UTL and its collapse is only a kind of information to us that our country economically is getting weakened not only via UTL, but many other companies where our government has a stake. The issue of corporate governance that one of my colleagues alluded to is paramount for us to note. And I think that's where the real drama and trauma starts from. Madam Speaker, in the minority report, it is noted that there was an issue of conflict of interest. But to me, what is critical for this House is to note what really caused the collapse of UTL. If you talk about Mr. Godfrey Mutabasi, for instance, what was the stake of government in UTL? It was a minority stake, meaning they didn't have a voice. Government didn't have a bigger voice. When somebody has over 50% interest in a company, for instance 51%, they control whatever happens in the country, in the company. They have a say. Therefore, our government didn't have a say in this whole affair. Yes, they had a dealing, but the controlling interest was the other side of the coin. Two, if we talk about the executive director of UCC, Mr. Godfrey Mutabasi, yes, he was the director. We talk about conflict of interest. How did it cause a loss to this country via UTL? Because first of all, if we talk about his performance in Semiliki, he had only 31% stake. Therefore, he didn't have a controlling interest. Let us look for these individuals responsible for the collapse of our company. I wish you could give me 1 minute.
Half a minute to conclude.
Madam Speaker, what I was saying, most of our citizens and workers these days hide under the CEOs. They find that as their umbrella to run away. We must accept that if it's about getting individuals from wherever they are, if they are under the table, let's go for them. They should not hide under and say that it is the boss. Yet they are the ones who are doing the wrong thing. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Atkins, but I want to know, I heard this Semlik is a beer company. They were selling beer? So if they are selling beer, how does it cause a conflict of interest? Honorable Atkins? Yes. Beer and water. Oh. Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thanks very much to Honorable Chair, your committee, and also our esteemed colleague for the minority report. Madam Speaker, it is becoming too much, and I think it's time that our country has got to put, especially the MPs, put our foot down, roll up our sleeves, and get ready to fight to end corruption. Everything, literally, health sector, education sector, literally everywhere, is disintegrating just because of corruption. And here comes, Madam Speaker, an opportunity for us to put a halt to that. And I was
Point of order, Honorable Macho.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I don't know whether the statement begun by my colleague citing government parastatals in the areas of health and education and many other departments, as he has started on that note, that the government in power is corrupt and the MPs should put down a fight without giving evidence of the corruption in the report of the select committee. I don't know whether he's in order.
Oh no, you know, I think I was waiting for him to complete what he was saying, so that I can get the gist of it.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Who are you accusing?
I was basically saying this is a golden opportunity for us as Parliament to put clear interventions now as far as taming corruption or terminating corruption in our country. And I think just like we know it's a collective input. Madam Speaker, I suggest the following specific interventions in as far as the UTL is concerned. Number one, both reports are very clear. The people responsible for the loss of government funds. And I suggest the following, Madam Speaker. One, can we have the passports deposited, first of all? Number two, can we contact Interpol just in case the one is kept? Number three, put mechanisms to make sure that the lost funds or the stolen funds are refunded. Also, number four, the people responsible for the loss, Madam Speaker, still holding public offices. And I think when we have this investigated to logical conclusion, can we see for the first time people really resigning or stepping?
Honorable Tinkasimire, then Baseke Centenary, Mbwate Kamwa.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank honorable members who did due diligence, particularly to investigate on this matter. And largely I would applaud both sides, including my good friend, but I would want to default particularly the minority report, where one of some person was brought in and said they strongly recommend him for having defaulted, faulted regulation 4.6 of the standing orders. Right Honorable Speaker, that it was a conflict of interest. When you recall the matter of conflict of interest, we dealt with it during the time when we were handling the Temangalo saga. The same issue was imputed that the then Prime Minister, by selling or doing business with a company of government, that he had a conflict of interest. And it was discovered that it was a company dealing with NSSF, and at the same time, this person did not sit on the board of NSSF to influence the buying of his land. Is it any different from this circumstance where Semuliki company sold water to UTL? Is it any different? It is not any different. So I don't see where my honorable colleague is picking the conflict of interest. When you read, maybe I would agree with him if he said in the report that he unfairly interrupted our transactions on voting day. That one I would agree with him. But to punish him for having carried out that act, and he said, now I have got an opportunity to fix you. Madam Speaker, just a minute. Just a minute. Thank you. I find it a bit unfair. When you go to section, he's quoting standing orders. I want to quote section 9 of the Anti-Corruption Act. It defines what it means to have a conflict of interest. It refers to exactly what I have been describing. It is saying an employee or a member of a public body, public company, or a public undertaking who in the course of his or her official duties deal with the matter, selling water to UTL, Was he sitting on the board to decide? I want to conclude.
I think you made your point. I think you made your point.
Your point is good.
Yes. You know, I'm waiting to hear that he forced the company to buy telecom equipment from himself. Or from self. That's what I'm waiting to hear. Honorable Baseke? Baseke Centenary, then Honorable Mbon.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for this report. My focus particularly on the minority report. There are a few clarifications I want to get from the honorable member who wrote the minority report. Madam Speaker, when you look at the sections the member quoted, where a leader shall not have put himself, Section 8 of the Leadership Code 2002, the honorable member was quoting that a leader shall not put himself or herself in a position which has interest, which his interest or personal interest conflicts with his or her duties. I want to know from the honorable member, by the time this company which is being talked about, Semeric, by the time it was incorporated, was Mutavas, the person being implicated here, the managing director of UCC? Secondly, I want also to know whether UCC, where Mutavas is the managing director, is a board member of UTL. Because the main issue here is bringing out conflict of interest. And conflict of interest happens where a member has a controlling influence. If Mutavas is not a board member of UCC, then how did he have a controlling influence in UTL? Thank you.
Centenary, then Honorable Mbwa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I feel perturbed when we are losing money to negligent public officers, and we as Parliament stand here to come and defend them. I have seen letters written by UTL, signed by Godfrey Mutabazi, summoning media houses for publishing for news stories to come and answer why those stories were aired out on radio. And here is a company indebted to the tune of 700 billion.
No, you said that he was writing on UTL letterheads?
No, UCC.
Okay.
Writing to the radio stations and other media houses to come and account for the news stories, just a mere story. And now we have a company collapsing under his watch as a regulator, and we're here saying somebody should be exonerated. Look at the tune of 72,771,142 that was downstreamed during the time Libya had issues, and it is not accounted for as it is reflected in the report. There is $2,718,888 which Donald Nyakairu and his colleagues utilized, and it was not properly accounted for. What can we do as Parliament to ensure that this money, which was supposed to come to the coffers of the Uganda government, is not lost? To ensure that these people who misused this money are brought to book and repay this money that we have lost. It is natural that if somebody is supplying a company and he is in charge of regulating the activities of that company, there is no way he can give harsh recommendations for that company to close when he is already been.
Then Oshava.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to commend the minority report with some amendments. First and foremost, to me, someone who should blame for killing UTL would blame people who signed the agreements from the beginning. Because how could you give Ugandan government to take for the shares, the majority shareholder took 51, and our government, which means it does not own that company. So, and again, maybe they need to help me and understand. Semurichi Dairy Beverages, honestly, you know, UTL and a telecommunication company, we should be talking about maybe the transmitters, the masts, the wire cables, that maybe they supplied things which were fake and things could not move. Oh, Madam's adapters and whatnot. Madam Speaker, water, even if it was beer, how is it connected to the fall of UTL? Not a transmitter, not a cable. And again, they've asked, honorable members have asked a pertinent question. Was Mr. Mutabazi on the board? Because we know even if his company had applied, according to the PPDA, they must be having procurement committee and whatnot. And was he also seated there to make sure that actually influenced? And finally, Madam Speaker, you need to, finally.
Okay, half a minute to conclude.
Madam Speaker, you need to help us maybe understand. When do I differentiate myself as Zimbabwe different from my company, Answered Prayer Schools? When can I be seen as an individual? When can my company be seen as a company? In this regard, we are dealing with a company, not even Mutabazi. Thank you so much.
Honorable Oshave, then Carter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Macho, Onzima, then Carter, Pentagon, and Nandal.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the demise of UTL is a clear indication of the failure of the economics that we thought, or this country thought, would work. We took a lot of time to think that if we handed over the running of our companies to certain individuals, most especially expatriates, we thought it works. The demise of UTL, just a clear communication that we can run business ourselves here. Because when you look at the report of the committee, which the committee, I want to thank you so much for it, they are saying the majority shareholder, who was somebody from outside, messed up the company. Right Honorable Speaker, at this stage, when the company is messed up, you hear government or a minister coming up to say, we must recapitalize UTL. We must invest more in UTL. Now, the report is saying government should take care before you think about reinvesting the money for the people, the people of Uganda's money into this company. It has failed. So if it has failed, the committee is telling government, think twice. Right Honourable Speaker.
Half minute to conclude.
Right Honourable Speaker, what I wanted to say is that the recommendations of the committee should be taken seriously. And we should always think twice, Honourable Speaker. I felt bad as a move of on local content to hear that an expatriate was being paid more than 120 millions when a deputy is at 15 or 10. Just because
Honorable Oshabe, Macho Onzima, then Kata, Ariko, then we go to...
Right Honorable Speaker, my colleagues, I want to thank the committee for the good work well done, and at the same time thank the minority, the writer of the minority committee. Right Honorable Speaker, I've taken time reading the minority report, but when I analyze, I see there must be a personal problem between the writer of the minority report and Mr. Mutabazi as a person. I know a point of order will come out.
Madam Speaker, order, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, point of order.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this great opportunity. I think this season is calling upon us to make Parliament remain Parliament. The author or the originator of the minority report was very clear. And Madam Speaker, he even cited, he gave the basis upon which he thought there was a clear conflict of interest. That was a citation. I wonder why, Madam Speaker, why a distinguished member of Parliament.
Now, Honourable Member, you know, I've been asking you, I want someone to tell me that Mr. Mutabazi used his position to force UTL to buy transmitters, to buy adapters, to buy telecom machinery. That's what I want to hear. But beer, selling beer and water.
Procedure. Madam Speaker, Section 9 of the Anti-Corruption Act defines what is conflict of interest. The basic understanding of citing laws, rules, is that when an act of parliament is defining something clearly, you don't quote rules. You don't quote rules. They become, you can't subject rules to an act of parliament. So, anybody calling upon us that he wants Parliament to be Parliament, I think, Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament can only be Parliament if we follow order. Rules and regulations. The laws of the land.
Order.
Procedure point.
Order.
And Madam Speaker,
Order.
was it procedurally right?
Order.
Or was it,
yes.
Was
Order.
my honourable colleague anywhere guided by a land friend?
Order.
By a land friend
Order.
to understand the provisions of Section 9 of the Anti-Corruption Act. And anybody here too submitting on the floor of this house, has he read and internalized the provisions of Section 9 of the Anti-Corruption Act?
You know, honourable members, what I want members to understand is conflict of interest means you have used your position, abused it actually, to do something. So I've been asking, the transmitter, did he sell transmitters? Did he, telecom, in relation to the telecom company?
Madam Speaker.
Honourable Macho is on the floor.
Right Honourable Speaker, it was in the interest of this House to tell all the colleagues that I know how politics game is played in the August House, in many parliamentary houses. It is always a play game of opposition to come out with minority report so that they keep themselves busy. Me, I think opposition should stop wasting time.
Order, Madam Speaker.
That are personal.
Order, Madam Speaker. Order, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, that's his opinion. That's his opinion. Complete.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order.
You cannot bring
Point of order.
To issues of youth.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Yes, Honourable Nzogu.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, it's very unfortunate that when we are handling these issues, some individuals are bringing in their selfish approach. And Right Honorable Speaker, we know very well that these guys have been paid money. We at least at an appropriate time we shall even read the list. These guys have been paid money. Is it in order for people who have been paid money to come here and masquerade?
Honorable, you may have substantiate, but I want to know, members, how did selling beer to UTL cause its collapse? That's what I want to know. How did selling beer to UTL cause collapse? Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, as I summarize, I want to know from the movers of the minor report how water turns into cables that we can waste time of Parliament discussing issues that are not beneficial to this country.
Honorable Zima.
Procedure.
Yes, Honorable.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Is it in order for an honorable member? Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of procedure that an honorable member should stand on the floor of this house and say they have been paid money. Can he substantiate? Are we proceeding correctly when an honorable member has stood on this floor and made false accusations against members without substantiating? Are we proceeding well?
Honourable members, there are 400 of us here, including the Speaker. I want to know who has been paid. And Honourable Zogu, please lay the information on the table.
Honourable Speaker, this is what I can submit. When I moved this minority report, there was an attempt by the UCC director to actually write me that he bribes me and I refused. Yes, and yes, Right Honourable Speaker, I can clearly say that these honourable members, some of them, yes, no, let me substantiate. Right Honourable Speaker, when I refused to succumb to the bribery, this is what I was told, that they would get to the honourable members and mobilize for the minority report. That's what I can say.
Honourable Byabagambi.
Madam Speaker, we are the representatives of the people. And whatever we discuss here, we discuss for the posterity. And everything is captured, and there is a time when those people who replace us will go to Hansard to read what we did in this parliament. Madam Speaker, we don't debate allegations. Madam Speaker, we don't talk about imaginations or assumptions. Therefore, Madam Speaker, won't it be procedurally right for the honorable member who has put such allegations to withdraw and that statement be expunged from the Hansard?
Honourable members, I would want Honourable Nzogu to tell us who exactly was bribed and when and how much, because when you say there are many people here, there are many. So if you cannot substantiate, please withdraw.
Further clarification, Madam Speaker.
Right Honourable Speaker, there are some honourable members here who even own radio stations.
there are some honorable members here who own radio stations. And there have been some of the targets, and we know them, Right Honorable Speaker. You go to the records of government, they have the information there.
No. Honorable, I know that Commissioner Nabaja owns a radio, and she's not here. Is she one of them? No, if you don't know them, withdraw. Honorable Nzogu, if you don't know, if you cannot name them, please withdraw.
Right Honorable Speaker, I can tell you this, that even it was a tug of war for me to get out of my office before I presented my report, my minority report. Yes, some honorable members gagged me, and Right Honorable Speaker, I know them, and they know themselves.
Yes, Honorable Rambidamba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As earlier said, members of Parliament are referred to as honorable members. And to stand here in Parliament and you say you were attempted to be bribed, and because of that, you assume other members were bribed. Madam Speaker, attempt to bribe is an offense. Can the member clarify whether he reported to the IGG, the person who was trying to bribe him?
Or whether I reported to the Speaker, that as a result of my parliamentary work, I'm being pressed. No, I want Honorable Nzogu. If you don't have the names, withdraw.
Right Honorable Speaker, the information that I'm giving here is authentic, and Parliament can pick interest and investigate this matter.
No, you are not going to. Honorable member, you are not going to send us on a fishing expedition. This is not fair. This is not fair.
Procedure.
In the circumstances, his statement is expunged from the record. Let us proceed. We can't go on a fishing expedition. Who was it? Eh?
Procedure.
Yes, Honorable Yabagam.
Madam Speaker, according to our rules, once the Speaker has ruled, we are supposed to comply. And if you want to challenge the ruling of the Speaker, some members have to stand up. I think the number about 40 plus. Madam Speaker, you have ruled. You have ruled that the honorable member should stand up and withdraw if he can't substantiate. If he can't substantiate his allegations. Is it procedure right? Therefore, to leave this statement on the Hansard without removing it.
Honour members, I have directed that it be expunged. I have directed that it be expunged. Let us proceed. Who was on the floor? Onzima. Honourable Onzima.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee members for the report. Madam Speaker, when we talk about the collapse of UTL, in my opinion, when you look at the committee report here, particularly page 15, you'll realize that there are two major reasons as to why UTL collapsed. One of the major reasons is the lack of strategic investment plan. Any business that operates to earn profit must have a strategic plan. Particularly looking at the UTL had other companies with which it was supposed to struggle for customers and for profit. But to hear that as an organization, they lacked a strategic investment plan, one would ask, why were they existing? If they lacked a plan, investment plan, what was their motive? So this one is a bigger challenge. The second major challenge is managerial.
There was a board put in place to oversee the activities of UTL, but this was merely a rubber stamp board. For example, here they are saying board was supposed to approve all the budgets of UTL, but they were operating without a budget that was approved by this board. The managing director was handling every activity. The other challenge here was that in any case, there was need to borrow money or mortgage or call for capital in case of need. It was supposed to be the board. But these powers were not there. Instead, it was the managing director. So when you look at all this, the issue of lack of policy, as an organization, they lacked also policy. One would really wonder, why was it set up? How was it supposed to operate? So basically, with all this kind of challenges,
Honorable Carter, then Rico, Pentagon, and Nandara.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I have about 5 issues. One, the position of this UTL, I think wasn't, to me it's still even not clear. Was it a public-private partnership? Was it a company where we are majority shareholders or not? And how then did we invest hell of monies of Ugandan government, of taxpayers? That leaves a lot to be desired. 2, when we have such a company, the manners in which the board members be appointed must be clear. Board members in this country is known. People become board members from back doors, cause of relationships, consanguinity, and it just beats your understanding. So this also brings us into the question of how powerful can the board be. And more so the management, by the management is paid more money than being board members. So board members are not even empowered to look into real documents of the organizations or the companies. But that said and done, when we look at technically this report of the majority, now you are telling us that you find no legal fault in the company giving the transfer of title of land of the company to another firm, to a law firm. Yet actually there is a legal department of the company. Now I find that is wanting. If there is a legal department, then your recommendation should insist on how much money would have been lost in the transaction if they use the legal department other than hire a firm. And then 2, this is a whole committee that we gave a job. Go and find out what are the areas of weaknesses and so on. Report 1 minute.
Half a minute, conclude.
Yes. Report to the House. Find out and report to the House. I get disappointed when it comes to the issue of, the tax to be paid, capital gain tax, that they asked the minister to come and tell them why the capital gain tax was not paid. Up to today, the minister has not brought the report. An answer. When actually we've given them the powers now to investigate up to the last bit, what stopped them from going behind the minister and find out the reason why this capital gain tax was not paid? That goes in line with, in Manafa district, there's a Canadian company that acquired a mining license at approximately $150,000, which is $45. Right, Honorable Speaker, this same was sold to Rio Tinto at $5 million US. And the same was sold to Gulf Resources for $10 million US. This is how these foreign companies come and take advantage of us. And we find...
Now, how about Rico, then Pentagon, Nandara, Angel Blue, then we shall conclude.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, debates such as this ones are very interesting because they bring the best out of some honorable members. Sometimes I saw people very animated. Madam Speaker, I want to address myself on the issue and plight of workers because, Madam Speaker, as a former human resource officer, that is where my passion is. Under section 4.3 of this report, Madam Speaker, At the time when Uganda Post and Telecommunications Corporation was split and UTL came into being, there was money that the workers of the then UP and TC had been saving with NSSF. Madam Speaker, up to 151 billion of the savings of the workers was withdrawn from NSSF by UTL management, and this money utilized. Court determined the matter and ruled that this was illegal, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the workers of Uganda Post and Telecommunications Corporation worked tirelessly to serve, and they deserve what was due to them. Madam Speaker, as we consider this report, I pray that this Honorable House, Madam Speaker, looks into the plight of these people, and that we strongly resolve on this particular aspect of the report, and that those that were in management in UTL at the time of taking out of the workers' money be held individually and collectively responsible for the workers' money, and that they must be able to ensure that this is brought to good. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Pentagon, then Honorable Nandara, Angelo Dulu, then close with Oguzo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to add my voice to the committee's work. To me, I feel the committee did a good work. Although issues of money usually raise issues of conflicts and what have you, but I want to call the attention of all members to look at the recommendations of the committee. They are 9 in number, so that we don't put much emphasis on Mutaba's issue. It is going to kill the gist of the matter of the committee's work. For example, let's look at the board and management. These people were there. Let's look at the procurements they did, the fraudulent, the overpriced procurements. We look at the fraudulent payments, the big salaries they earned even when the company was sinking. And let's look at why were there no accounts to discover the problem in time when these people were there. And once we look at those, then we shall be able to cure this problem. Otherwise, if we bring in the Mutabazis, they may not really help us to curb this down and prevent further loss in other government states where we have our interest. I thank you. So I call members to look at the recommendations and we see how best we can recover what we lost. Thank you.
Nandara, then Honorable Dulu. Nandara first. Nandara first. Wait first. Nandara.
Madam Speaker, I would seek your indulgence that you give me straight a few more minutes, because you are aware I was the mover.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first I want to thank the committee and the minority for the reports they have made. I see all of them, the reports are very useful, and this is how I'm going to look at them, both of them. Number one, if you look at the page 7 of the minority, it says 72,771 something dollars came in the country. And Madam Speaker, if I want to steal you, if I'm the owner, I'll say I've lent you money when I've not lent you money. So number one, we must find out, is it true this money came in? Number one, did it come in? Where's the evidence that money came in? If you brought in material, equipment, where are they? So, in short, they are claiming $73 million, which we don't have evidence that the money came in. So, number one, we should disallow the $73 million until evidence is put across about that. That's from the minority. Page 7 of the minority report. Okay. That's why I said both of them are very good reports. Madam Speaker, the minority again recommends that we need not to lose $700 million, 700 billion. Madam Speaker, the money they are talking about is taxes, is the investment of taxes, the staff pension funds, and whatever. But I want to make one correction from what Honorable Albert Ariko raised. They have not taken that money as yet. The money is still with NSSF, but they want to take it. But we had to ask NSSF not to use all possible means not to remit that money. So the money is on one fixed account, it's available. The only thing is that it needs to be paid to the pensioners. That's the NSSF contributions. So they have not stolen that as yet. They have not stolen that. But Madam Speaker, the other point which I want to put across from government, we diluted from 49% to 31%. So it means we lost 18%. What was the value we got? We need to find out how much money we got. Because a man can sit in finance and say, we have diluted our shares. For him, he gets a kickback and puts in the back pocket and says, we gave you at zero. We want to know when we diluted of 18%, what did we get? We want to give it a simple number that supposing they said they were going to bring in more money, can they confirm that they brought money which in the company which covered the 18%? If there's no money, the person in the Ministry of Finance who was involved in dilution should quickly be held liable. Madam Speaker, there's no company which can run without accounts, which my brother Pentagon has raised. Under the Company Act, it says every company shall make annual returns, annual accounts. If I'm a body chairman, like now, Buddhist Cooperative Union, and I don't produce accounts, I should be arrested. That is a private company. But for a government company, a whole chairman and the board and the management cannot produce accounts. It shows there's something wrong. So what motivated them not to produce accounts? They wanted to use missing accounts to steal. And that's what we should do now. All those who were involved, number one, the board and the management, not to produce accounts, should be brought to book immediately. And the reason they should be brought to book, while the company was making losses, the chairman of the board was being paid $8,000 per month. A civil servant in privatization unit, the director, was being paying $3,000 per month. Yet government pays him, and he was also picking $3,000 per month. Of course, when you remove taxes, somebody will claim it came to about $1,800. But even if it was a gross, that's a charge. So why were they not producing accounts? Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter. Madam Speaker, they said they were going to bring in 72 million, peg 57 of the main report, that they were supposed to bring in between 2016, $72 million. That confirms now that they never had any money from even the earlier period. If they claim that during the UN sanction, they were bringing in $72 million. Now there's no UN sanction, you are now in the government. Why didn't they bring? It clearly shows that their job was busy to siphon money from Uganda to Libya. They were siphoning money. These people must be arrested. Why am I saying they must be arrested, Madam Chair? When the chairman of the committee was telling me they were trying to go to Dubai, I said first search for them where they are. I don't know if he has reported here. But I'm told when they went in Dubai, they got a new office, smelling paint, with new carpets. Then I'm sure, he said, but what has happened? They said, we have just shifted. Shifting from where? To where? And in Dubai. You are in Libya, you are now in Dubai. They carried Mr. Honorable Kajara with a team. They took him in Dubai. They took him in a hotel. And he came back. I said, this is a functioning company. Kumbe, they had just given him per diem and they just slept very well to come and make us, I don't know.
But are you amending the recommendations? Don't abuse your... 1 minute to conclude as a mover.
Thank you very much. But what we're trying to put up, one, which I want to make further recommendations, which I must insist, that now after the report, now a forensic audit must be carried out. By the
that's in the recommendation.
Now, why am I saying a forensic
the
audit?
recommendation?
It's in the recommendation.
Yes.
To get exactly the loss. But in the meantime, the management and the board, for what they have stolen, when the company is making losses, they must refund. They must refund. How do you pay me $50,000 per month when the company is making losses? Where do you get it? It means you must be selling some asset to pay me. So such people came to steal, and they should be arrested immediately, because how can somebody be paid $50,000? Okay, 33,000, 26,000, 25. This is theft, Madam Speaker. Now, this staff here should be even IGG, CID should take on them immediately. So because they were not telling the truth. And finally, overpricing was the order. There was need to compare everything. Madam Chair, if you can get people who are overpricing, they do transfer pricing. What it means is they leave money out. They say this is 1,000, yet it is 200. In short, they have taken 800. It is called the transfer pricing. These are people who are involved in transfer pricing with the help of management and the board. And immediately, that is an action which we would want to take. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Honorable 2 minutes and Ologuzu 2 minutes.
For the first time.
You allow members to contribute.
Proceed, Madam Speaker.
Who is not proceeding well? Oh, well.
Yes, Honorable Zogu.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I am finding a problem with the main report, Right Honorable Speaker. We invited witnesses to come, and we extracted some critical information from them. And Right Honorable Speaker, we agreed as a committee that those would form part of the evidence that would be presented here on the floor. But on perusing through the report, Right Honorable Speaker, what actually we should have had as a complete list of the appendices that we should have had, they were selectively uploaded. Some of them were actually left out. Like, I just want to mention two for this time, Right Honorable Speaker.
But now you are taking the opportunity of the members. You can come in later. Let's finish the main debate. Then you can come if there's something you want to raise. Let the members complete their submissions. Honorable.
I thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the chairman and his members for bringing all this to light. Madam Speaker, all that people have been talking about can only be summarized under corporate governance and cultural values of any organization on this earth. Madam Speaker, for an organization like UTL to have a better corporate governance and to be effective and to be for the interest of the stakeholders and to be safeguarded, a climate has to be created where those working for the stakeholders and their own behalf are conscious of the ultimate economic and social consequences of any decisions and behavior they have undertaken. But in the report clearly, Madam Speaker, you could see that is missing out. And that is the reason why in an organization like UTL, we need to have directors. And directors need not to only be executive directors, but as well non-executive directors of equal numbers to create an atmosphere of checks and balances. That is missing out there. Madam Speaker, without creating these cultural values, even if we sit here and debate here out, here in and here out, we will not get any benefit of what we are talking about here. It's all about missing out these important structures of the existence of any organization like UTL, assisted by the external auditors. I expected this to have been sounded a long time ago. If ever UTL has been audited by external auditors who are really auditors, because this should have been told for us a long time ago. We couldn't wake up yesterday and send members to go and find out exactly what is happening there. What could have been the use of the auditors in that particular organization? Or they have not been having external auditors, Madam Speaker. So in the future,
No, Guzu?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the committee for their report. They have clearly indicated that government either enters into agreements out of desperation or it's always a collusion to steal money, because they have indicated areas where audits are even done and government is supposed to take action and no action is taken. Then you wonder why government must be acting negligently. If it's not an issue of negligence, probably it would be collusion. I want to address myself to one of the recommendations, which relates to a case where there was conflict of interest. UTL paid money for service which should have been offered free. And the committee recommended that the people who paid out this money should be held responsible. And they have not indicated what should happen to the person who received the money. I wanted to understand the efficacy of this recommendation. If you have not held the person, the recipient, responsible, and yet they were the people who received the money, how will that work out? And then the second recommendation I wanted to address myself to is the issue of exonerating UCC. There's where the committee indicated that there was a great traffic UTL was using, and we know UCC is responsible for monitoring communications in this country. If they have negligently not performed their duty and that resulted into UTL doing some illegal things, who must be responsible? And yet UCC was being managed by an executive director and competent people who should have acted. In that case, we think there was some sort of deliberate silence on their side, and for that they must be held responsible. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask Honorable Bahati to speak, and then. Three minutes, please.
Yes, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I would like to thank the chairperson and the members of the committee for the report, including the minority report. And Right Honorable Speaker, like many of the members have pointed out, I would imagine that we really went wrong in many of the entities that we privatized. We gave, if I may speak generally about the companies that used to belong to government, and we have given them to other people to manage on behalf of government, even when we have given our companies to other people to manage, and we still have a hand in managing them, there is little oversight that government has made. And the case is this one that we are discussing, the case of UTL. I would like to call upon the Prime Minister to seriously consider the issues of wastage, the issues of loss of taxpayers' money, the issues of loss of government funds in this venture of the company called the UTL. The exorbitant salaries that these people who were managing a company that was even in negatives, they say we are making losses, but they are giving themselves fat salaries to the extent of even borrowing to fatten their pockets. Really, we don't have to leave these people unattached. And Right Honorable Speaker, the best we can do, if we don't arrest them, then we just condition them to refund back the money, because they were virtually doing nothing on behalf of the country that would have earned them this kind of money. There is also, Right Honorable Speaker, the impression that I want to correct. During the debate, A member alluded to the fact that members of the opposition try to make themselves busy by bringing minority reports. Right Honorable Speaker, minority reports are not a preserve of the opposition. They are actually catered for in the rules of procedure. And when Parliament saw it necessary to provide for this rule, they know that never at any one time all members will agree on a matter. And it's the reason why they provided for the rules of procedure, and in the rules of procedure they catered for a minority report. Any member of this House, as long as is of the opinion that his view or her view has not been catered for in the report, is at liberty to come up with a minority report. And to those who may not be aware, it is Rule 194 of our Rules of Parliament. So it's not that really the members of the opposition want to keep themselves busy. They are more busier than you may imagine. And I just want to say, they are in compliance with our rules. If you don't want to use them, then just rest. I want to thank you.
Okay, as the Minister comes on, Prime Minister, before you came, the issue of the lack of boards of directors in many corporations was brought up. For instance, Hotel Tourism and Training Institute has never had a board for 7 years. 7 years. So I've asked the clerk to check which boards are not constituted and bring them and we'll lay them before this House, because 7 years of no governance, it doesn't make sense to me. Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, first I want to thank the Honorable Nandala Mafavi who raised this issue. I also want to thank and appreciate the efforts of the committee and the work that I've been able to do to discover what now is in the report, but also to confirm to this House that we take these recommendations seriously and we will do as much as we can, implement the recommendations as much as it is practical. In the meantime, Madam Speaker, allow me to update the House that the process of receivership of UTL is going on well. And as soon as the process of receivership is completed, government will have to sit down and take a strategic decision on whether government itself is going to run and revamp it. Secondly, whether we are going to look for a strategic partner to run UTL. But what is important to note, and what is members should know, is that for strategic reasons and for security reasons, the assets of UTL, the opportunities that UTL has in terms of the infrastructure that we have across the country, the internet opportunities, the government of NRM will not let this infrastructure go to the vein. We will make sure that we use it to make business out of the UTL. We have learned our lessons, Madam Speaker. We have learned our lessons, and they are bitter lessons. To find a company that has no books of accounts, to find a company that's run in the way that has been run. This is a lesson that we should not let any company, any organization associated with government be repeated. So I want to commit government that we are going to implement the recommendations, but also that the process of receivership is ongoing and is going on well, and after that we'll inform Parliament on what strategic direction we will take.
Madam Speaker.
I thank you, Madam Speaker.
But he has finished. He has finished.
He was still on the floor when I raised it.
No. Honourable members, we need to take a decision. We'll have to vote on both reports. We shall start with the minority report. Honourable members, I put the question that the minority report be adopted. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Noes have it. I put the question that the minority report be adopted. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Honourable members, of course we expect... Honourable members, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the work done. Yesterday we were nominating members to the standing committees. We would like to nominate Honorable Sentamu Kyagulanyi to the Committee on Human Rights, and Honorable Mukitale to move from Public Accounts Committee to Budget Committee. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Honourable members, House adjourned to tomorrow, 2 p.m.